Howdy everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 9th, and the time is 5:30 p.m. We're here for the regular session of the Coppell City Council. There is a quorum present, so I'll call the meeting to order. There is no executive session scheduled for this evening, so we will be convening directly into work session in the first floor conference room. The public is invited to attend. Thank you very much. We all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. It is 5:33 p.m. and we're convening into work session. Our order of business is fairly short tonight, so item number A is discussion of the agenda items. Does anybody have anything to comment on? I will point out that the consent agenda items were not numbered. They are lettered only, so when it comes time to make the motion to approve those, just say consent agenda items A through I, or A through whatever.
If we agree.
If you agree. Well, no, even if you don't.
Yeah, I know.
John?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things on item G.
G.
That's right.
Oh, this was the ERP system,
The,
or peer system.
it's the, I think it's
Okay, Jared?
the building system, right?
Yes.
You missed some great discussions about that. So appropriate that you would ask the question.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to get a little more information about this system. It looks like that there was a person or a resource that was going to work on it, but then they resigned, so we're hiring the outside source.
That's correct.
Is that person that, the resource, was that an internal person? That was
Correct.
it?
Yeah, it was
So-
one of my staff members.
Okay, and then, wondering from here on moving forward,
That position is open and it's on the street right now. We're in the middle of recruiting that person.
okay, and then that person would continue on with the management moving forward from this
Correct.
point? Or
Yeah,
when
this
they
is
get
just,
hired?
correct. This is just a stopgap, if you will. So,
That's the question I have.
okay. Thank you.
I hate to ask. How long do you think it's going to take to hire the person?
I don't even want to guess, to be honest with you. Right, we've had it on the street for 2 weeks. We've only had 5 applicants.
Well, I've been trying to hire somebody at work for close to a year,
Yeah.
and it was only until about 2 weeks ago we got the first resume that was even worth a phone call.
You're making me nervous.
Yes.
Thank you for that info.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome.
That was valuable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was listening to a mayor's call this morning. They have a discussion, and the hiring situation is, it's not looking good across all sectors right now. And there was a gentleman talking about why, and there were so many different reasons. It's not just, you know, the government subsidies have ended. That's not it anymore. But there's been a whole mind shift the way he was describing it, there's been a whole mind shift in the workforce. And the people that are out looking for work are just in a different mindset right now. It's very sobering, especially for those of us that are looking for employees. Sorry, I'm off track.
Good.
Anybody else? John?
Just a question on I. Does this bring a closure to this dam issue?
Yes.
You want to ask that question again?
Official slam gavel down.
Yeah, it was something that we actually agreed to. They wanted us to have an interlocal agreement approving it since the irrigation district had been formed, so I said, sure, why not? So this gets rid of all of our North Lake property except for the Dart Station site. And we're just waiting on it to close. I'm waiting on them to approve the plan and the exhibits. As soon as that's done, they'll have one more thing that we'll have to do, but you've already approved that interlocal agreement. This will be the last time the council will have to deal with this.
I'm gonna paraphrase something. I'm gonna paraphrase something that Mike's been saying. And he says, please don't forget the importance and the significance of this act to the city of Coppell. We've been able to accomplish virtually or all of our goals from 15, 16 years ago. We've been able to manage through that. We've now been able to relieve ourselves of that long-term debt. And we still have all the agreements in place that we intended originally. So this has been a significant win for all the parties, for us particularly. And he said, don't trivialize, the sale of the property. It's been a great thing for the city, and we don't have the damn property to worry about anymore. Sorry.
You just wanted to say it.
I did. I was trying to figure out how to say it politely. But it's true. The liability that we had incurred with that was significant, and it's not ours anymore. So congratulations to everyone for living through the 15 years of it. Anybody have anything else on agenda items? All right, let's move on. Discussion regarding the boards and commissions appointments. Ms. Owens.
Thank you, Mayor. Here is the final draft of the list of appointments for 2021-2022 for your boards and commissions. Please review this because the names will be read into the record later this evening. So if you find any discrepancies, please let me know as soon as possible. The one area that we are still needing direction on is the library board.
Do we know if, why am I asking the question that way? Did you and Brianna ever have a chance to discuss that?
No, I sent my preference to you.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I recommended during the interview process.
Okay.
And is Brianna by chance online?
She is.
I'm here.
So, welcome.
Hi.
Are you, what time in the morning is it over there?
It's 1:38 a.m.
Well, thank you for joining us. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that discussion, or you want to move forward with Bijou's recommendation?
So I think I just wanted to talk about it here, and because I didn't have a chance to connect with Ashley or yourself before I left, but so we have amazing candidates for library board, and I think while all our boards are extremely important, our library board, I will say, is not only important, but it's also a very active one. And so I want to be mindful of that. And we have some amazing candidates. Really, honestly, where we're at is the fact that we have two great people that you and I are just flip-flop on regular versus alternate. And so the person that I had noted, and I don't have the email in front of me, was, let me see if I have it here. So we had Carly Brenner and then Heridas Rakishram. And so again, they're both great. I had picked Carly Brenner for a regular appointment versus an alternate because she came with background in the library, like just had background in libraries as a whole, and had also done research on our 2040 plan and seemed to be like really up to speed on what we had done and where we were going, and had just taken the time to do some of that research. We have not been very long in Coppell, and Ashley or Bijou, maybe you can remind me how long she's lived here, but
Yes, 2 years.
2 years, okay. But just felt like, again, or sometimes we can look at how long people have lived here. Sometimes I don't know if that's necessarily something that we have to hold to, and I think we all have different experiences on that, and people bring different perspectives, and so I think where she had come from before she had worked in libraries. And then Heridas, I think, was someone who had lived here for like 16 years. And so, and Bijou can speak to him being regular member versus alternate. So my recommendation, and I don't know, I can't see the screen very well. I don't know if our staff members are in the room or not, but and if they can speak to it. But I was in favor of having someone who was also going to add some new perspective, as well as just having done some research on the 2040 plan, plus our librarian had some background in this space.
So I'll speak on Heridas. She's been here a pretty long time, 13 plus years, I believe. And he did attend 2040 meetings in person. And in addition to that, he volunteers his time for the community garden. And he's also worked with the library in a voluntary capacity. Also, he proposed bringing some more technical books to the library, and he's been a volunteer for other organizations within the city. And I thought he was a strong candidate. Of course, we picked 5 of them, and we just have to make a decision on who's going to be the alternate versus the regular member. So I thought his credentials are a little more stronger. Both are great candidates, but just wanted to give him an opportunity since he's being already attended the 2040 meeting in person. So I thought that was a greater volunteering opportunity with the city that he already has the experience.
Anybody have any comments, questions for Bijou or Brianna?
I guess my question to you is, did Heridas, because he was very technology, he was somewhat technology focused, did he apply for any other boards? Is that one?
This was his first choice, that I know.
And I know that, but I'd like to know if he applied for any other board.
Give me 1 second.
Is it up to us?
It is.
You got a quarter in your pocket?
Well, actually, we don't have a formal, well, Ashley's looking it up. We don't actually have a formal way for making a decision like this. I mean, it's a group decision. We could do private vote, we could do raise of hands, we could do flip a coin.
I think Brianna should come back from Israel to get this thing wrapped up before she goes on vacation.
I'm sure based on her comments to me via email this morning, I'm sure she would really like to be here.
I would love to be here, but I'm at work in Israel, so I'm really sorry, and it's taken me 3 days to get here. I've been in the U.S., New York, London, and now Israel, and then my coworker being detained and then returned back to the U.S. I will tell you that I would love to be there in person, but,
Brianna, when you said you had a difficult trip this morning, you understated it a bit.
yeah, it has been crazy, and that is an understatement, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. So all I have to say is my apologies for not being there. I don't miss unless I absolutely have to, but I'm here for work.
Okay, I think Ashley's got the answer.
Yes, so Heridas only applied for the library board.
Okay.
That was his first
Did
and
Carly
only.
as well?
Let me bring that up now.
She actually,
And it's fine either way. I mean, if y'all want to do it based on the fact that I'm not sitting there, then y'all can do it however you want. I just don't think that we should look at people on boards because of how long they've lived in a city. I was elected to city council after living in Coppell for 3 years and was elected or was chosen to be on the board after being there for a year. So I want to be mindful of the fact that I think it's important to have diversity in our boards, people with different perspectives, people who bring different backgrounds, people who are looking for opportunities to serve, and so again, that's where I'm coming from.
Just for,
So-
so sorry.
Brianna, can I ask you a question? Did Carly, has she ever attended a library meeting?
She has not attended a library board meeting. No, she has. She's been to the library and been to many of their activities, but she has not been to a library board meeting.
And then how about Heridas?
He has not.
He is not.
Not attended, but he has some, yes.
Yes, sir.
Cliff?
I need to ask the mayor if I can speak to you. Yes? Do you mind?
Not a
I
bit.
mean, would you give me permission?
I thought you said mayor, so I'm.
Oh, no. Ashley, how many members on the voting members on the library board?
7 and 2 alternates.
So we can do a voice vote in here. We'll have to make a motion out on the dais to formally vote the candidates in. You can make a motion with to add one of the 2 individuals as a regular member and the other as an alternate. Which I guess is probably the correct way to do it.
And all this to say, like, I will just say this, like, I'm very flexible, and I honestly had already put in, I knew I was making this trip, and so wasn't going to be available for council meeting, but I messaged Ashley and decided to join at 1:48 a.m. in Israel time, because I think it's important enough to provide these comments, so. I think the other thing to consider too is the library board is about to go through a huge strategic initiative. That's why I was wondering if we had any of our staff members there from the library, and I don't think we do. But
I'm so sorry. No, we
that's the other thing is that's their focus for this coming, I guess, year or 2 is a big strategic session, and so thinking through people who can contribute to that.
What was the question you asked?
If anybody had attended the library board meeting?
The actual meeting?
Yeah.
And then you said Heridas actually attended?
No.
With something else,
Yeah, he attended other meetings, but not the library.
not the library.
Just historically, that seems to be a fairly good indicator of people, especially like if they attend planning and zoning or something like that.
If they're interested in.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be a separator.
Yeah.
sometimes
Look at
not.
the top record, but,
Did you say Carly was also only one applicant for this applicant?
No, so she actually, her first choice was the library board, and then her second choice was the park and recreation board.
Do we have a strong preference on how to proceed forward? Kevin?
The only, I mean, both of them look very qualified. The one thing that is kind of sticking out to me is I'm looking at both the original applications and I went to the SharePoint and found the original applications. I would say that it looks like Heridas, the question was, would you be interested in serving on any ad hoc committees, citizen summits, nonprofit organizations, task force that may arise during the year? There was an indication of no on that one, and you know, I tend to lean towards people that are willing to serve in capacities when called on. I'm trying to find a differentiator because I wasn't in any of the interviews or anything like that. Whereas as Carly looks like she said that she would be willing to serve in anything. So that's one thing that kind of sticks out to me just from looking at the raw applications. But this is, I don't know, I don't have any precedent for how you select that if we're kind of at a stalemate between the interviews. So it's just something that sticks out to me, that I think willingness to serve, I think, is important in any capacity that you can. So. I yield the floor.
Right. Well, when we go out to the dais, the motion will be made with a recommendation with one of these two individuals to fill the regular position and the other to fill the alternate.
Rock,
And
paper,
then,
scissors.
Mayor, am I able, even though I'm only, because I know we couldn't do video, I'm on Zoom on audio, am I able to vote during that?
I don't believe so.
We need to see your face, I'm so sorry. I mean, if you would like to join via video, yes, you can.
Do you have the capability of joining by video is what Ashley's saying?
Yeah, I can. If we do it by Zoom, Ashley,
Yes,
I can do that.
Yeah.
Just know that I will be on and off, basically,
Okay,
All right.
if that's okay.
I'll double check.
I mean, I hate to kind of state my thoughts for someone and then not be there for the vote. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I was hoping we'd resolve it in work session and then I could go to sleep.
Is there any other precedent, like any other?
No, we've never had this come up before. We've always had a full slate of candidates to present to the council.
Okay.
I think, yeah, as far as all of us, I would say, I've seen it in the past maybe once or twice, but we've talked it through and made a decision and we've come to a consensus.
Well,
Ashley,
Yes, sir.
do you know if, other than this time, how many other times they've actually applied in the past for any other boards?
That's a really good question. If you give me some time, I can find out. But off the top of my head, I do not know.
that's important. Yeah, that'd be really important.
Give me just like a few minutes.
Because, we always tell people, you may not be selected the first time, and, keep at it. And
Yeah.
we're gonna, okay, you look that one up. We're gonna move forward to item C.
I have an additional questions on the board's information.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I know we all got an email about board members missing meetings. And can you tell us briefly what is the city protocol, board members missing? What are the things that we do if they miss X number of meetings, or absence or late from the meetings?
So the process for absences is once a board member reaches 2 absences, they receive a warning letter from the city secretary's office. Upon the 3rd absence, they are removed from the board.
During the entire term?
During January to typically around this time of the year, whenever we start pulling in applicants.
So each year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that doesn't carry, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that doesn't
go ahead.
carry over?
No, sir, it does not. It starts fresh in January.
So this year, we had a candidate who missed 3 meetings, right?
Mhm.
And can you explain that, what happened?
So we were in transition from staffing perspective of the Smart City Board meetings were not being tracked as well as they should have been. And we racked up some absences, and then we informed the candidate once we were made aware.
Okay, so there was a candidate missed 3 meetings,
Yes,
but we failed to inform that person.
yes.
If they inform the liaison they're going to be absent or excused absent, how does that work?
So we currently do not have an excused absence policy within the boards and commissions. So that is something that Sarah and I are going to look into in the future years coming, but we do not have that right now.
I also noticed there were number of months the meeting did not held for the Smart City Board, and that was because of quorum issues. Can you explain to us what was that? How many members were not present, so you had to call it off?
Oh, I do not know. I would have to ask the liaison, Jared Anderson, to speak to that.
Yeah, so, yeah, from what I recall, and I don't remember every instance when that happened, we just knew that we wouldn't have enough to make the quorum, which it's 4.
Yes, sir.
We need to have 4 present. And then we knew we weren't gonna have 4 present, so we just opted to postpone the meeting to the next month. I think the actual, we don't have to have a monthly meeting, we only needed to have.
Quarterly.
Quarterly meetings, so we technically we're still in line with meeting the expectation of having meetings, we just, for that month, we skipped.
Okay, I noticed like 3 meetings were canceled.
That sounds accurate, yeah. I don't know if it overlaps the 2 years, because it definitely wasn't in the same quarter. We didn't miss an entire quarter, so.
Did that hinder any progress that made towards making a presentation to the council with recommendations?
No, actually, to be honest with you, in a couple of those instances, the people that were coming back with research actually were grateful because they had more time to go back and do some more study. And there were times when they weren't ready, that just happened to be a discussion we had. It wasn't part of a meeting, it was a discussion, are you gonna be there? Well, can't make it, but I didn't get a chance to meet with so-and-so, and we didn't finish doing our research, so it actually works that we didn't have that meeting. I don't remember exactly which one that was, but yes, those things did happen. Yeah, and to speak to the excused, unexcused, this is my first board, and so the absences, in my opinion, were excusable, and I didn't really pay attention to whether we were tracking absences just in general, or if it was excusable, unexcusable, those types of things. That really didn't cross my mind, so that's on me. So.
Actually, you said that you were going to be looking into the like a excused absence policy. Did you say in the upcoming years or year? I apologize, I couldn't hear you.
In the upcoming year.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
Yeah, and is this the one that we discussed and we all came to an agreement, is that right? That we were, the situation and the strength of the individual and everything and the importance, that we all agreed that it was right to reappoint that person to the board, right? Is that the right one? Is it the same one?
Yeah, I'm just discussing generally, what happens with all boards, not just that.
Okay.
For all boards, the importance of people being on time for the meetings,
Right.
Absence from the meeting, if you are appointed to a board, expectations are, show up for the meetings,
Right.
contribute to the city's benefits.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to clarify that we did have a discussion and came to an agreement that it was the right move.
A basis, the requirement on our attendance is we get to miss. We aren't held accountable until we miss 3 meetings in a row. So not just 3 in a year, but 3 in a row. So our boards and commissions criteria is pretty strict, actually. John?
So just following up on what Viju said, I guess it is, because we don't track if there's not enough, there's no quorum, then you can't have the meeting. But those people that actually are willing to be there, they're actually willing to be present. But those that are not, we're not keeping track of that. It is because of those that are not available. That's why it's been canceled.
Right.
And that can go on for months without being counted towards being absent. I was asking.
My understanding is had we not made a meeting in our quarter, or it was going to look like we were not. So just the way the kind of quorum conversation happens is the chair and vice chair reaches out to the members individually to say, hey, are you going to be able to make it? You know, are you ready? And, here's what we're going to be talking about, high level stuff. When we find out that we're not going to make quorum, then we go ahead and let Ashley know, and we postpone the meeting. We don't actually post or put anything out. So in those instances, that's how it happened. Had we not made the quarter or a meeting in the quarter, then we would have been having conversations that were completely different, because I would have had to go talk to how we deal with that situation.
So you're basing it on a quarterly meeting rather than if I guess the chair calls for a meeting. I would imagine there's a reason why they're trying to call a meeting, and if there's no quorum, then they can't have it at that moment.
That's true. What I will say is there were times, for example, last month where we had 2 meetings in 1 month, and that was to prepare for the presentation you're going to get this here tonight. That happened previously as well, and that typically comes to the discretion of the board in general. In fact, one of the open agenda items that's on almost every meeting is to talk about the next meeting and what's going to be on it, and timing, basically the schedule. So there were times where we had bi-weekly meetings in the early part of the, of course it was all on Zoom, which it made it a lot easier for folks at the time, that first year. The cadence of meetings is determined by the group, and so that's, by the actual policy, it's quarterly, but they chose to have monthly and then at times bi-weekly based on the work that's going on. So it varies, but again, to Wes' point, or Mayor's point, my bad. We didn't have 3 consecutive misses. So,
yeah, so the dates, just for your information, the Smart City Board did not meet in February, did not meet in May, did not meet in July. 3 months out of the 9 months of this year.
Anything else on that, Bijou?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay. John, you look like you, no?
No.
Okay.
I just holding this in.
All right.
That should have been done.
Let's go ahead and, Ashley, did you find your answer yet?
No, sir, I haven't left yet, so
All
I'm
right.
going to go there.
Let's go ahead and move forward to item C, which is Ms. Shavetta. Discussion regarding the Texas Opioid Abatement Fund.
Yes. It's a fantastic topic to talk about. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm here to discuss the resolution that's on your agenda for approval tonight regarding the global opioid settlement between the Texas Attorney General's office and several pharmaceutical companies who were charged with engaging in fraudulent and reckless marketing and distribution of opioids that resulted in addictions and overdoses across the state of Texas and the country. A little background, the Texas Attorney General's office sued Johnson & Johnson, AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, and McKesson in connection with the manufacturing and distribution of opioids that have had a detrimental effect on the citizens of Texas. A settlement was reached in this dispute, and it provides payments to cities, counties, and the state for opioid abatement. Coppell has been allocated $86,593, which must be specifically used to fight the opioid crisis. So in order for us to be part of this settlement, the city must adopt what's called a Texas term sheet, and that is in your packet, by resolution. The Texas term sheet is essentially a document that describes the allocation of the funds to the cities, counties, and the state, and how those proceeds can be used. The city must also submit 2 subdivision settlement participation forms along with the approved resolution to the Attorney General's office. Approval of the resolution, it basically indicates that the city wants to be part of the settlement and supports the allocation method for the proceeds, as well as understanding that the purpose of the Texas term sheet is to create an effective means of distributing the funds to abate the opioid epidemic in Coppell and throughout Texas. As I mentioned, the funds must be used only for opioid abatement. So in your packet, there is an Exhibit E that provides about 15 pages of appropriate uses for the funds. And if approved, city staff will research various abatement options for us to consider. Some examples for the use of the funds include training public safety staff on how to use opioid-related treatment, community education programs, and media campaigns to prevent the misuse of opioids. Those are just a couple of the many, many options that are available for the use of these funds. Tonight, we're only seeking approval of the resolution to adopt the Texas term sheet. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have. And say opioid about 10 times in a row if you can. Practice that all day.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how much do we currently spend on opioid, thank you, abatement right now?
I was looking for Danny and Kevin. Danny's here.
There he is.
Danny, can you help answer that question, how much we currently spend on opioid abatement?
I don't have a number. I would say most of the money goes into all the resources we have to put into the investigations. And sometimes a lot of overtime. Opioids, we're not feeling a lot of the effect of the opioid abuse here in Coppell. We do catch kids with pills and whatnot. But it's usually happening outside of our borders. But we still pick up those investigations, like the heroin cases and things like that.
So I was expecting you to say very little, so the answer is not very little. We are actually...
Well, it's not a lot. It's not like I don't have opioid cases going right now. If I had a big opioid case open up right now, I'd have to pull 3 detectives to put them on that full time. We haven't had to do that in a while. We have a task force officer at the DEA, and he usually picks those up for us. And then we go assist, so it's not a lot of money, but there is money involved.
Thank you.
One of the things I'll add to that, Mayor, is that when I was talking to one of the ladies down at the state AG's office about this today, and she mentioned that you can use these funds for anything that has to do, that's related to opioid, which could include other drug education type programs, and I know we do some types of drug programs in the police department, so this could be used to help with those types of programs as well.
John?
Yeah, so the amount that's been allocated for Coppell, does that reflect a number of residents that?
I don't know exactly how they determine the amount that is allocated to each city. I can try to find out for you. But the state received about $1.7 billion total, and 15% of that goes to Texas cities. So the amount that's allocated it's obviously based on some formula, but I can find out what that is, because I don't know.
Because I know there's a list of uses. I would imagine, part of it is using it for those that are actually, I guess, the result of using those, right?
Mhm.
The residents, so just wondering what that number was.
Yeah. Good question.
It's not population.
I don't know.
No, I know it's not, because the city that my wife is from, got $73,000, and their population is about 15,000.
But if more than half use it.
It may be based on what's happening in those cities, the opioid problems.
Yeah, there are a lot of rest in the woods down there.
Yeah.
Vicki, and someone from our office has been handling this for us, but it's based on where it is, population, where in the county it is. So you could look at another city that has the same population as us, that's located in a different part of Dallas County, and they're gonna have a different dollar amount. So it has to do with crime statistics. It's a huge formula. It has to do with population, state. Part of this is a nationwide class action suit, and then each state attorney general then brought a companion suit, so these are all settling out, but it has to do on a number of factors, population just being one of the factors.
Thank you, Bob.
Are any of the programs geared toward prescription abuse?
You know, I don't know for sure, but the list is 15 pages long. I would imagine that it would, anything that is related at all to opioid use, we can use those funds for educational purposes and treatment. There's support centers for people, services. There's a wide variety of options.
Anybody have anything else for Vicki? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So,
Nothing like pressure.
yeah, so I've only been able to look back through 1920, back all the way to 1920.
Oh, sorry.
Not 1920.
Not 1920.
Yeah, sorry.
Extensive.
Fiscal year 1920.
No, I'm so sorry. Our records don't go back that far.
From halfway across the world.
I was like, what?
I have not seen either one of their names. I just don't want to say that, you know, one hasn't for sure, just due to them living in Coppell for however many years.
Actually, did we ask that? I guess I don't have the application in front of me real quick. We don't ask if they applied before. I thought we did before.
Yeah, let me take a look one more time at the application.
Thank you.
Of course.
Have you ever
Because Bijou,
served?
we had other people that applied that had applied before and made it, and then we actually chose like one gentleman, in fact.
Say that again, Brianna.
Oh, I was saying we actually had someone who had applied before and not made it, and then he got selected at this time.
Right, yeah, that's right. We did that.
And I felt like that was something that we either talked about with everyone, or we had that information in some way.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here.
This is a stall question, so
Okay.
she can get a little bit of time, but what's the process for adding questions to the board and commission questionnaire that is sent out? Like, could we add a question like, have you previously applied? I see, have you ever served, but have you ever applied? So does that go through us, or does that go through Ashley? I'm trying to stall so you can keep.
At the recommendation of council, we would, yeah.
That'd be nice to
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Brianna, I'm sorry, we do not have that question specifically on our application. The only one that we have is, have you ever served before?
Gotcha, thank you. And then that's what, so then I'm aligned with what Kevin is saying. I don't know if this is the time to do it, or we can add this to a future meeting, but if we could add that question, that would be great.
I second the suggestion of adding that question. I don't think.
So this whole, the whole form that we used was very, we used to do it by paper, so it was, it's still Still living. All right, anybody have any other items for boards and commissions? Don?
So how are we handling, I feel like we didn't resolve anything here, so we're.
Well, before we broke, what I said was we would make a motion on the dais with the recommendation that one of the two be appointed to the regular position and the other one be appointed to the alternate position.
And that vote comes at the very end of the meeting, right?
Yes.
Hang on, Brianna.
Yeah.
So, is that?
What's that?
Oh,
That's true.
if she comes in on Zoom, she can.
We
right?
can move that item up to the very beginning of the meeting for Brianna's convenience.
I think that would be
Still in fact.
a good thing.
So whoever makes the motion first is,
There's no notice that any of the members are participating by video conference
On our agenda.
on your agenda.
That's kind of why I was hesitating, because I thought that changed in,
Well,
Back in
the
September.
governor's orders, we got used to the governor waiving those requirements, and so we allowed people to come in and out. You don't have this listed as a video conference meeting, so people cannot participate by video conference, because there's certain incantations that need to be on the agenda that are not on the agenda.
all right. So Brianna, we're sorry that kind of excludes your vote from tonight.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, Kevin?
So, I'm just gonna kind of speak just personally on this, like, if this is, I think everybody else kind of, had it all settled except for this, so I don't feel very comfortable deciding this position because I'm basically like flying blind on this, like I feel like I haven't given this deliberation a lot of thought. I don't have a lot of background on it. I wasn't in there for the interviews. So I'm struggling I'm sitting here like trying to dissect a Google form, trying to figure out, decode some sort of way to determine who's going to be more qualified for this. I don't know, like I'm just struggling with the fact that I'm supposed to help determine a position where I don't have any knowledge or background on it, besides that. So I don't know if there's a way for us to get more information or allow more time to make that decision. I know it's kicking the can down the road. I know we don't like to do that, but I am not sure how to proceed with just like trying to pull like grass things out of the air to determine that, this particular thing. Because I don't have a strong recommendation for this from everything else. Everybody's come together and said, this is what we want. I just speaking from the heart, so.
Don?
I agree with what you're saying. I guess I would like us to get resolution before we go to vote, just so we are sort of all on the same page on that. And they're both going to be on the board or as an alternate, right? I mean, both of them are going to have a role placing. And so I guess I propose, I was just looking through some of the background. Ms. Brenner, if asked to serve on a different board, she said she would be interested. She'd be interested in ad hoc committees. The other gentleman said no on both those questions, so I guess I just propose we go with Carly as the regular member. I guess I set a proposal out there. I guess that's what I'm just trying to get resolution before we move out there, so.
Okay. Let's just go ahead and do a hand vote on.
Can't vote back here.
That's true, we can't vote back here.
You can have a consensus.
Okay, so is a thumbs up, thumbs down okay?
Let me ask a question.
Just a second. Is a thumbs up, thumbs down consensus okay for how we move the candidate out to the dais?
Yeah, but it's not binding.
That's true, not until it gets out to the dais.
So you can ask the council members what your preference is. You can't ask them how they're gonna vote.
I wasn't planning to ask them how they were going to vote.
You weren't, because I wasn't gonna let them.
All right, Brianna, you had a question?
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to interrupt. I guess my question would be for Bijou. Bijou, are you completely against having Carly as regular and Heradas as an alternate.
Brianna, it's not about me against one person or other. I think we selected 5 good candidates for the city of Coppell to contribute. So what I was looking at is the service they provided to the city in totality. In 13 plus years, that guy contributed heavily to the city. He had participated in 20-40 committee meetings. He is a volunteer for community garden. He has so many good ideas for the library. I'm looking at my notes here. He is also volunteering in other capacity within the city. So I'm looking in totality. A person only wanted to serve in that board, so there is a dedication and commitment, wants to contribute. And, his willingness to, serve in other boards, he probably answered no. But that is not a disqualifying event for that person. That person is committed to serve on that board. I know I have seen other candidates only selecting one board as their primary choice. They didn't even apply for second. So that's how I came to the conclusion. And his interview, he did well. His appearance was good, and he answered the questions we asked. So in totality, I thought a person who served the community longer than the other candidate should get an opportunity to serve as the regular member. That's all.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to go around the table. I'm going to ask everybody for their preference for the regular member. That the consensus opinion for the regular member will be read into the record by Ashley on the dais, and then you guys will vote on it as we normally do. Bob, is that okay?
Well, what you want, you've got the regular slate, right? So you've
Yes.
got everybody except this one position is the only thing. So there's 2 ways you could do it. You approve the slate and then go to this and just address this.
Hey,
Someone needs to make a
Mayor,
motion.
Hey Bob, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you know what, I don't wanna make this complicated. I honestly, am very much think, and I don't know either one of them personally, so this is not a personal deal, they are not my friend in any way, shape, or form. I really wish that we had our staff members here because they also interviewed and they have a say, and so knowing that this was unresolved, I really wish they were in this meeting as well. But they're not. So all that to say is that we have someone who has served in other capacities, someone who's coming in with a different perspective and also was very well-spoken, had a lot of great ideas, knew about our strategy plan. This gentleman knew enough, while he had been to 24, he didn't. I did not think he did well, great in the interview. We didn't have a lot of people who interviewed as it was. I thought he spoke over us, he was very aggressive, and my concern is that he will take over meetings, and it is what it is. And I don't want to put any of y'all in a bad position because it's not, that's not right. Y'all shouldn't have to do that. Y'all didn't interview them. So all that to say is I've said my 2 cents, and while I completely disagree with it, I will concede and give in to Bijou.
Done, move on.
I'd like to move forward with my original suggestion and go around the table with your suggestions on who will show up on the recommended slate of candidates. So, Brianna, I appreciate your comments. So, Mark, who is your choice? Preference, sorry. Preference.
My preference is to know from Bijou if that was an accurate portrayal of how he handled the interview.
What the comment she made?
Yes,
I
the comment
totally
she-
disagree.
Then I can't.
My
preference-
The only people that were in there were me, Bijou, and the 2 candidates. I mean, our 2 staff members.
My
So,
preference-
it is-
With that being said, my preference would be Haradas.
All right.
Because Carly she's got plenty of opportunities in the future. I can continue to speak. She has plenty of opportunity in the future. She's only been there a couple of years, so let's give this gentleman an opportunity.
But Mayor, before we even go up to that, I mean, do we need to? I mean, it's done. She already said she'll just, let that happen. So why do we need to go each person and go with that? Let it just be over with. I appreciate Brianna, the comments and everything I've heard, but at the same time, I appreciate her actually saying, okay, you know what, just to get this over with, she's willing to let me move forward with this.
Well, and I appreciate her comments too, but I also had heard at one point a dissenting opinion from down the table. So
I'm just saying it could be over, just I was hoping one person would just say, well, you know what, I'm okay with just moving forward with the other person and then just move on and without having to vote and,
all right.
or give a, consensus as to who, what, but we're there.
Sorry, did she acquiesce?
Do that in the spirit of being flexible, adaptable.
All right. So is it a consensus opinion then that Herodis be the selection for the regular member and Carly be the selection for the alternate member?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
Everybody okay? Or do we have a consensus?
Consensus.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just one more comment. I'm being very flexible with appointing a member to the Smart City Board even though that person missed 3 meetings. So I am being flexible too, okay?
It's all about compromise.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
So, Mayor, for the record, then you will read the slate with the male being the primary and then the female, the secondary.
Herodis will be read in as a regular member and Carly will be read in as an alternate member.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody have anything else for work session? It is 6:30 p.m. and we are adjourned from work session. We will move into council chambers in 1 hour.
Okay, let's go back and argue some more about the other one because we still have time.
Howdy, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. The time is 7:30 p.m. and we're reconvening into the regular session. Just as a reminder, any persons wishing to speak during our citizens' appearance or during the public hearings, and we do have 4 of those, must sign the appropriate register outside of the council chambers and list their residence address. If you are planning to speak, be aware that the citizens' appearance is separate from the public hearings, and each public hearing will be held separately with the agenda item. First on our agenda tonight is our invocation, which will be given by Councilmember Don Carroll. Then please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we come before you tonight just thanking you for this opportunity to gather together as a community to discuss our lives and how we interact with each other. Father, we ask for your blessing and your guidance through this meeting. Let there be peace and calm over this meeting. Let wisdom prevail. We thank you for this community that you have placed us in, the relationships that we have with our fellow neighbors. We just thank you for always taking care of us. Please bless this meeting tonight. We ask this through him. Amen.
United States of America, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Item number 5 is our citizens' appearance. Ms. Ashley, do we have anybody that has signed up? We do not.
No, we do not.
All right. We have nobody that has signed up to speak. However, if anybody would like to say anything for our citizens' appearance, now is the time. Seeing no one, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is a proclamation.
Just me and my mustache.
Council, for your consideration. You're really going to rub this one in, aren't you? Whereas men in the United States have 1 in 8 chance of being diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, and 1 in 5 Americans will experience a mental health problem each year, and whereas Movember is committed to raising the awareness about men's health issues and their effects on fathers, sons, brothers, uncles, husbands, and boyfriends across the U.S. and the world, and whereas during this month, Movember encourages men to grow a mustache for 30 days or commit to move in an effort to promote and raise awareness of prostate cancer, testicular cancer, poor mental health, and suicide prevention. Whereas the Coppell Fire Department is committed to life safety and the prevention of efforts ultimately reducing long-term illnesses and to ultimately save lives. Whereas together we can start conversations about men's health, raise much-needed funds for research and projects, and dedicate themselves to the appreciation of mustachery. Therefore, I, Wes Mays, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do proclaim the month of November 2021 as Movember Month in the City of Coppell, and I urge all members of our community to join us in recognizing this significant occasion and join the movement to change the face of men's health. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Coppell to be affixed this 9th day of November 2021. Chief, I'm guessing you have a few things to say.
Well, thank you. Yes, my name is Kevin Richardson, and I have the honor of serving as the fire chief here in the city of Coppell. And thank you for the proclamation and having us here this evening. The American Fire Service, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of why we exist, it's to save lives and protect property. And we do that in a lot of ways. One of our most effective ways is through our education campaign. And so throughout the year, we stand behind certain campaigns that would improve health and wellness, and this is one that's very dear to our heart. The idea behind the campaign is for men to not shave for the month of November, and what that would do is bring awareness to what we talked about. For firefighters, we can't really do that because firefighters have to maintain a clean-shaven area for their air breathing apparatus, and so what that left is the mustache. And so I think we are the creators of the word mustachery. We have different levels of mustachery here this evening, and we have a lot of competitions going on in the fire service. But all kidding aside, it is for a really good cause. We have a lot of staff members who have jumped on board. You'll see some different levels of mustachery going on in the city. And you'll see firefighters across the nation who are sporting some kind of a mustache. But it's all for a good cause, and it's to help bring awareness to men's health. And one of the things that's very serious to our hearts this year, they added behavioral health to the list. And our first responders have been dealing with a lot of behavioral health issues in the last year, trying to deal with all of the stuff that's going on. So I'm really excited to see that be part of the highlight. We also talked about the term Movember, so mustache Movember, but also talked about the word move. And so we encourage everybody to move, to have a physical, identify any of your issues that you're having, and then move to go get something done about it, because so many of us are stubborn, especially firefighters. We're extremely stubborn. And so we're encouraging people to move, to go do something about it, to improve their health. So again, thank you for having us this evening, and, you know, grow a mustache.
Thanks, Chief. Councilmember Nevels.
As someone who's working on his own facial hair, I move that we approve item 6 and consider approval of proclamation naming the month of November 2021 as Movember Month.
I have a second from Councilmember Carroll. All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Nevels, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Chief, here's the proclamation, and thank you very much for all you've done for the city and for men's health, and good luck on the growth there.
I started early, by the way. All right, thank you.
Okay, item number 7 is a report by the Coppell Smart Board. That looks like a Mr. Storch coming up to the front.
It is. Thank you, Mayor, esteemed council, also City Manager, Mr. Land. It's great to see you guys tonight. I'm really excited of presenting tonight. I will start with the goals of this presentation. I mean, there's 2 main goals that the Smart City Board would like to present to you, and that is a quick catch-up from when we started in 2020 up to where we are now. And then the main goal of tonight is to make recommendations on 2 of the portfolios that have been identified that we shared with you at the end of 2020. So a lot of hours, a lot of work has gone into this, and we have a very engaged board. They're excited to that I get to represent tonight. So let me start off. We were created with a specific purpose. Smart City was, as you know, one of 2 boards that was started by the city, and we have a very specific purpose. The board split those purposes basically into phases to make communication and to understand how that works. But you can see in the initial phases, we are inspired by Coppell Vision 2040. We do operate as an advisory board, and we make recommendations, and that's what we're here tonight. The ongoing work for the Smart City Board is really to act as forward thinking. We're not making recommendations on things that should be done today or tomorrow or next quarter. This is very forward thinking, and that takes a lot of our time when we meet. So to bring everybody up to speed, when we started in January 20, that was our very first Smart City Board meeting, and as everybody knows, January 2020 only feels like about 10 years ago, but it was just under 2 years ago. And we gathered, the board was created, we did a lot of work to determine what is going to be our work, how do we put this into a model, how do we make good communication within the board to make presentations. And by October of 2020, we put together and we presented to City Council the operational model and the framework. So many of you remember, some of you read ahead of time in your packets, this was the model that was presented, accepted, and is what we have been working on. And there is a lot to digest here. I'm not going to get into the entire thing, but I would like you to bring your attention to the middle section under the circle D. Those are our portfolios. And so we have 6 smart portfolios, and tonight we will be making recommendations on 2 of those. We'll be making recommendations on number 2 and number 5, and I'll get into that. So why are we doing this? How did we come to this decision? So ultimately, the board made a decision with the help of our liaison to the city that we were going to tackle these 6 smart portfolios. Each one of those will be recommendations to the city council of how to move forward to celebrate and to work towards 2040. We built and established a research framework to get that done. Like, how are we going to do our work? How do we stay consistent in understanding and bringing information back to the board to learn, to ask the right questions in order to make presentations? And so as I said, we are bringing 2 portfolio recommendations for tonight. Portfolio 2 is around climate action, adaptation, and renewable energy. And portfolio 5, which is connected homes and businesses, i.e. smart homes, smart businesses. So let's jump into that. But before we jump into that, just as to make this presentation easier to follow along, because these are very, very big, heady topics. We're not going to get into the nuts and bolts of those. So tonight, the board is bringing you through this path. We're going to talk about the overview of what those portfolios are. We're going to give you a very high-level recap of the research that went into the recommendations, and then we'll make that recommendation. So that's the process we're following. So let's get into it. So portfolio 2, climate action, adaptation, and renewable energy. So one of the things that the board did and made presentations back in October of 2020 was the purpose of each one of these portfolios. The purpose of number 2 is to create a sustainable Coppell by contributing to climate change mitigation where possible and leading adaptation strategies where necessary. So ultimately, what does that look like? And I'm not going to go through all of this in detail. These are just some top level, these are some of the things, the minor things that we went through in exhaustive research. These are just some impacts around 2040 that are being predicted for North Texas. So we looked at a lot of different research, put some of these here to make it easy just to get up to speed in your packets. But not only did we want to look, this is a worldwide, as we know, this is a problem, an opportunity, initiative worldwide. How do we actually bring that down to the local level? So how do we take these things and bring it to a local level? We obviously, and we did research with other cities of how they're tackling this. We looked at that research. We asked lots of questions of large cities, smaller cities. This is just a couple of ways that we went about that. So as we get to our recommendations, the first recommendation that we have on portfolio 2 for city council is that a recommendation is to establish a program to bring all existing and future city-owned property and infrastructure to green building certification standards. We have a second recommendation for you as well, just to create an educational program and provide initiatives for implementing sustainable and resilient improvements. Fire chief spoke about lots of the different ways that they look for programs. The city does a really, really good job of marketing, coming up with those programs, and getting those words out to our citizens, and we think that's going to be really, really important. Moving to portfolio number 5. Portfolio number 5 is about connected homes and businesses. Many of you are already well into this in your own homes, but the purpose around this portfolio is to support bandwidth requirements of residents and businesses and project new services that are going to be enabled by these buildings, and both in residential and commercial. So let's talk about residential. The expectation, I call it, or the board calls it, expectations acceleration. There is such an acceleration of what our residents and what homeowners require of internet and those services. And the research says that by 2024, 50% of internet traffic to homes is going to be appliances and smart devices. You'll hear this talked about with Internet of Things or IoT, and how your thermostat talks, to your iPhone, and how your thermostat's connected to the grid so you can make smarter decisions. And that's just one example. As residents, as human beings, we really do expect fast and unlimited internet services that just work. Many of you get frustrated, as I do in my own home, that if we have buffering when we're trying to watch something on Netflix or Apple TV or Hulu, especially if you're trying to work on a presentation for work, maybe you're on Zoom and you just can't get work done because you have lag in your internet, we really expect that to just work. Basically, like electricity. I'm not going to get into that, but when you flick on the light, we expect the lights to come on. That expectation is happening with our internet as well. So what are these things that we're doing at the house? And it's a whole bunch of things. I mean, there's obviously the social media, we talk about streaming, but it's all about connectiveness. We're doing more things with our appliances so that we can get smarter about how we use them. We want to be energy efficient, and we're trying to learn how to get that done. There's a lot of content creation that happens at home, both for school, both for work, both for volunteerism. Gaming is a huge usage of internet, and gaming leads into a conversation that most of you have either heard about or you will be hearing more about the metaverse. But basically, everything that we do live is going to be happening in an alternative reality, and all of that is happening already. We're at the very forefront of that, and that is going to take lots of bandwidth for that to be happening. Just an example, you guys did this already in Zoom. When we were in COVID, you were living in an internet reality. You were not physical, but you were connected and you got work done. That's just a very simple example of that. So ultimately, as a city, we need to really understand about our residents' bandwidth, what's needed, what kind of access is necessary, where is it great, where are we lacking. And technology constantly changes. The idea that internet has to be brought through a wire in the ground, those days are really over. 5G changes everything. Satellite is already here that can give us global internet. That is going to open up opportunities that are going to continue to accelerate expectations and new business models that didn't exist yesterday. Let's talk about businesses. So the commercial side of things. So on the commercial side of things, to make it very, very simple, because it's a very complex thing to tackle, but ultimately you've got buildings that are trying to connect all their disparate business systems. You've got all kinds of systems that are growing, that aren't connected, that need to be connected so that we can learn from that, get great information to make great decisions to move forward in every aspect of business. Some of you actually on the dais, you work in this type of industry, and you understand how important it is to have large amounts of data to get great information so that others can make decisions based on that. And if you have to go building to building to building to building, the way we did in the old days, to look through file folders, you remember, or some of us remember, how long that took. We need to be connected. Just a few of those use cases. Energy safety, safety alone, everything around protection, connecting the entire world. All the things about efficiency so that the businesses can save money to put those resources toward other things. The connectivity of employees. We all understand how this last 2 years changed a lot of business models and how work gets done. And businesses, especially with real estate, are still adapting to how that works. And internet usage and being connected is at the forefront of this change. Another thing to be thinking about with this connectivity is there's really no time zones anymore. When you talk on a cell phone with somebody else across the country, for example, our council member that's in Israel tonight that joined us over phone and work session, she happened to be on a completely different time zone, but there are no time zones. We're all doing the same thing in time with each other. And so businesses and residents and all of us are expecting service 24/7, 365. And so that will continue. Recommendations for this is that by 2024, we recommend that the city obtain an expert assessment of our city's network and power infrastructure to review the investments that will be necessary for 2040 and beyond. Our second recommendation as a board is we need to create an education program that is going to allow and understand how this can be implemented and also provide incentives for these smart programs, especially in the categories of health and safety and our city services, because ultimately that's what our government is about. If you kind of boil it down, is health and safety and our services. This next slide is just a review and a recap of the 4 total recommendations that the board has for you, and they're broken up into 2 different portfolios. So let's back up just for a moment, because you can get in the weeds really quick on this work. Why are we doing this? And this is all about the Vision 2040, all about the designation and being designed for a smart future. The work that was done on 2040, some of you on the dais actually served on a lot of those panels for that work. You remember building those timeline out. Everything has a timeline to get there. And this is just a reminder of what those timelines look from 2040. It started back in 2019. So I happen to be standing here as a chair of the Smart City Board, but I'm only one single person. There was a lot of work that happened by a lot of citizens on this board, and I definitely want to recognize everyone that serves. And everyone is very, very proud. They're excited to make these recommendations to you with the amount of work that went behind it. We're honored to serve, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that and to make our recommendations. That concludes my presentation for this evening. Questions, thoughts?
Thank you very much. Appreciate the update and the recommendations. Council, any questions for the Smart Cities Board? Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Storch, for the presentation. As you go through these portfolios, I think there were 6 of them. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Just curious. In my very simple mind, I would have thought it would take a long time to go through all 6 of these portfolios. So, what is sort of the timing? Like you've got recommendations from a couple of them, so I guess that means there's 4 more to approach. So, are we thinking like through next year all of them will be addressed, or is it a couple of years, or is that how? This is a 20-year look down the road, right? So how long does it take to sort of dissect these portfolios?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So I'm assuming that you want it done tomorrow, Mr. Carroll, but I'm joking. There has been a lot of that discussion at the board level. I mean, everyone coming from business on the board, we want to move at the speed of light. And that is something that the board has had to learn working within the city structure, the new laws. How do we not have quorum when we're outside of meetings? And I say all of that because it takes a different type of process to move forward for government work. So one of the main goals we had as a board that I challenged the board and we all agreed that we wanted to be able to do is a lot of times on boards like these, you don't know what your final product is going to be. You don't a lot of times have deliverables. And so one of the things that we want to do with this current board before new board members come on and other board members roll off in January is we really wanted to make a presentation and give recommendations. We knew we were going to be making recommendations on 2, but we made great progress to do it on 2 portfolios. So all of that is to say, I don't want to give you a timeline because as we move into our next board members that come on, they'll need to, we'll reset as a board and determine how to continue that process. At this pace, I would think that we could be done with the next 4 in the next year. But ultimately it'll take the new board members and all of us to determine, what that progress looks like.
Okay, well that's helpful because it's different than my expectations, but it's much faster than what I would have expected sort of to happen because I would have thought it would just taken a long time to go through this. One other thing, and this may be for Mr. Land. So recommendations are made. What is the next step? Is it go back to staff? Is that what, to put skin around the recommendations?
So one thing I will say, without putting Mike on the spot, and of course he'll answer any way he wants to, but I do need to say that we have been working very closely, and Jared Anderson, as our liaison with the city, has been instrumental, of guidance, of answering questions, of making sure that the work that we are doing is on track with what the city needs from us. And so ultimately, our job is to advise and recommend. It's the city's job to determine how that should get implemented, what kind of plan, if any, needs to be put together by that. And so I know a lot of that, based on Mike's direction on city staff, would happen at that level.
Perfect. Thanks.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
And this may be more related to Councilmember Hill, but I'm going to start with you, and hopefully he'll be able to help out. As a council, we often hear about LEED certification on buildings and so forth. At the beginning of your presentation, you were talking about green cert and on buildings. How do the two work together?
So how do the two work together? So ultimately, when you look at the different certifications and looking at Councilmember Hill, who does this probably every day, every hour of the week, month, and different projects, we recommend that based on the new standards that are out, there is a LEED certification, and there's different levels of that certification. We need the city to explore in order to bring our bring our buildings up to a basic level of a certification, so that we can say, or that the city would ultimately be able to say to our citizens that we're operating efficiently. So the intersection of the two is ultimately going to be the work of city staff, but we do believe that there's a great opportunity for us to be more efficient and move forward. And Councilmember Hill, this is a part of your work, and so I don't want to step on anything he may want to add.
So I guess I heard your presentation, though, say there was a green certification. It's just becoming a green environment, kind of a generic term. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when we use the words green building certification standards, ultimately there are specific LEED standards. There's different gauges of those standards.
And there's gold and silver and
all the ones that are included. Each one of those is a certification. It'll be up to the city as to what's actually reasonable, what's prudent, what can be invested to get that done.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate
You're welcome.
it. Anybody else? Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Storch. If we could bring the graphic back up. So we have the 6 portfolios, if you will. The structure that you guys have built, obviously technology is changing, sometimes on a daily basis at what it seems.
Correct.
What sort of flexibility does this structure have to be able to change, grow, adapt? What does that look like? What does your group decide, and what sort of implementation strategy do you have to make those changes happen within this structure?
So as a board, this is what we put together in year 1. We came to the decision that this is a really good model for us to be working towards, because it's broad enough around the categories without being specific to like certain platforms or really specific initiatives. But ultimately, to answer the question, it's the board's direction to make recommendations. So for example, if 2 more portfolios or 2 more categories come into Smart City, the board should be making those recommendations to adapt this model. And that's the great thing about having a board that's advising, is that we have the ability to learn from all the many educated folks that are in these industries to make recommendations to the board. And what I would anticipate the future board potentially doing is, if we do have that input and there needs to be expansion, I think that they would make this presentation back to City Council and say, here's version 2 of our model for your recommendation, for your understanding.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Mrs. George. I want to thank all the board members for your hard work and effort. My question for you is, there are a number of cities in the United States recognized already as a smart city. What are the 5 things or 10 things we have to do to be recognized as a smart city going forward?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, but I'll just say it's open for debate. There's not like some official, United States wide, if you do these 5 things, you can be labeled as a smart city. Now, we know those kind of things are going to be coming because they're easy to market to, and there's lots of ways to do that. But ultimately, you're looking at infrastructure. You're looking at ways to try to take data that is happening at the city level, especially around city services, especially around infrastructure, and being able to have, I'll just call it a dashboard. And for those dashboards to help our citizens or our city staff make smarter decisions about how we're using resources. So those are really broad statements, but the city's already doing a number of quote-unquote smart initiatives with traffic lights and with different lights that can acknowledge when they need to be changed. And there's a let's talk about the smart meters at our home of just like water usage and electricity. A lot of stuff is happening. So we are already doing smart initiatives, and just like anything in technology, it constantly grows. It's like a moving target that will never be achieved. We just have to continue to move in that direction.
Thank you very much for all of y'all's hard work, and appreciate the report, and continue to look forward to good things to come.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you for allowing us to serve.
All right. Item number 8 is a presentation regarding the communication strategy to inform residents of a conversion to a new utility billing online payment portal. Ms. Hannah Cook. You can speak to all that too.
That's the right one. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. So tonight I wanted to give you an overview of our communication strategy to inform residents of the upcoming utility billing system conversion. Now specifically I'm going to talk about communications and our communication strategy tonight, but it has been a little while since you've heard about this project, so I wanted to start by giving you a brief background. So the utility billing conversion is part of our PEER project, which is our partnered integration of enterprise resources. Now, project discovery for this began in 2016, and Council approved the contract with Tyler Technologies in 2017. So the PEER project is a multi-year, multi-phase project. So first we had the financial module, which went live in March of 2019. And then we had the human resources module, which went live in January 2020. We will have the asset maintenance module, which has two different phases, so two different go live dates, one in January and one in August of 2022. And then the utility billing module, which will go live in February of 2022. So tonight we're talking about the utility billing module. So with this project, we are replacing Logos utility billing with Munis utility billing. So from the customer perspective, we're replacing eSuite, the eSuite online payment portal, with the Citizen Self-Service portal. So the system will go live on February 2nd of 2022, and the first bills under the new system will be issued February 15th. Now there has been a slight implementation timeline change as a result of the upcoming holidays and resource constraints. By delaying the project from December to February, we will be able to mitigate risk while still ensuring that we are on track to accomplish other goals that Council has identified. So with that background, let's talk about the Citizen Self-Service portal itself. So there are multiple benefits to the new system. First, data security for our customers. The new system requires two-factor authentication to register, and there is also a workflow process that restricts system access. With the new portal, we will also have access to current customer data, which will allow staff to better contact customers and provide better customer service. This project will also empower our customers and give them a level of autonomy. customers will be given the ability to maintain their own contact information and bill delivery preferences. So right now, if somebody wants to change their contact information or update their bill preferences, they have to either call utility billing or actually come to Town Center to make that change. So with this new system, residents will be able to make that change themselves. So unlike the other phases of the PURE project, this phase does actually have a community impact. So we currently have approximately 13,500 active customer accounts. Of those accounts, approximately 8,000 are currently registered on eSuite, so currently have the ability to pay online. And then approximately 3,500 customers actually do pay online each month. So that is not necessarily the same 3,500 customers that pay online each month, but approximately 3,500 pay online month to month. So in order to pay utility bills online on the new system, residents must register for the new portal. So if a customer wants to have the ability to pay bills online, they must take action. But the flip side to that is if a customer has never paid a utility bill online and never wants to pay a utility bill online, they do not need to do anything. So knowing that we need our residents to take action, how will we help get this information out in front of them? How will we inform them of this change? We have created an integrated marketing and communications plan to help us achieve this goal. So first, we plan to offer incentives to register. Utility billing will offer a $5 discount applied to the next water bill if customers sign up for the new portal. And then customers can also receive an additional $5 discount applied to their next water bill if they sign up for automatic bank draft enrollment. Customers can receive up to $10 in total, $10 off in total. And this incentive will be offered for 60 days. So this equates to 2 billing cycles for each customer. Now, we're really not quite sure exactly how many people will take advantage of these incentives and sign up for the new portal or enroll in automatic bank draft. So if, for example, all 8,000 customers who currently have the ability to pay online were to take advantage of both of these incentives, we would see an $80,000 impact. And then a few other impacts. Utility billing will suspend late penalties for 60 days. And the total impact of this action is expected to be between $30,000 and $40,000. The incentives combined with the suspension of late payment penalties, staff does not anticipate that the financial impact of those actions will exceed $100,000. And all of these, the incentives and the late payment suspensions, will be funded via revenues to the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. So if you recall, we have 13,500 active customer accounts, approximately 8,000 customers registered on eSuite, and 3,500 customers that routinely pay online. So with our communications, we will primarily be targeting the 3,500 customers who pay online. And then in addition to that, we will be working to get this information out to the 8,000 customers who occasionally pay online or who have the ability to. Finally, we also want to get this message out to the community at large. We want to make sure that all of our residents know about this change and know about all of the options they have available to pay their water bill. So we have identified some key messages that we'll focus on in our communications. First, who is affected? We really want to make sure that residents understand that they must take action only if they want to have the ability to pay bills online. Next, we want to make sure that residents are aware of all of the available ways that we have to pay water bills. So we do have quite a few ways. You can pay online, which if you want to continue to do, you will need to register on the new portal. You can pay in person at the utility billing counter. You can pay through our secure payment kiosk outside of Town Center. You can mail a payment. You can sign up for bank drafts. You can pay via phone, or you can pay directly through your own bank. We will also be focusing heavily on the incentives to register. So remember, the incentives will be offered for 2 billing cycles, so we'll make sure that residents are aware of that. And we're offering two different incentives, $5 off for registration to the portal, and then $5 off for registration for bank draft enrollment, or for bank drafts. And then we'll also be communicating the timeline of the change. So the new portal will go live February of 2022, and residents can begin registering for the portal after that go live date. And then finally, we'll be focusing heavily on the benefits to our customers. So first, data security. Next, the updated customer data that will allow staff to better serve our customers. And then finally, customer empowerment and autonomy. We're giving customers the ability to make their own changes and maintain their own accounts. We've identified multiple avenues to use to get this word out to the public. So first, we'll place ads. We're going to place some print advertisements in our local newspapers, in the Rambler and in the Coppell Gazette. And then we'll also place some digital ads in those papers, as well as we do run ads in the CISD e-newsletter that goes out twice a week, or I'm sorry, goes out every other week. So we'll be placing ads and get this information in that newsletter as well. We will utilize direct mail. We will mail postcards to all of our households and businesses. We'll have this information in Coppell News, which is our water bill newsletter. And then in addition to that, we'll have an insert in the water bill as well. So when you receive your water bill in the mail, there will be 3 pieces of paper in there. One will be the bill itself, the second will be the newsletter, and then the third page will be this additional insert with information specifically about this project and how to sign up for the new portal. And then we'll also include an announcement on the water bill itself. So on the water bill, there is a small section that we can include announcements about upcoming things. So this will be advertised on that section, or in that section as well. Additionally, we will use an array of other platforms that are available to us. So we'll use e-news, our weekly digital newsletter, our website. We'll have a homepage graphic banner to quickly grab people's attention. Our utility billing website will have information. We'll create some FAQs, and we'll also have user guides and instructions on our website. In addition to our website, we'll include messaging on eSuite, so when customers log in to pay their water bill, they'll see a little message announcing this change. And we will send an email directly to customers who have paid online. We'll utilize digital signage in our facilities. We'll heavily promote this on social media. We'll create a how-to video walking residents through how to create an account. We'll have this information on our mobile app. And we will also send a courtesy informational letter to delinquent accounts. Finally, we'll work with our community partners. So we'll work with the Chamber of Commerce to help get this word out to our business community, and we'll work with our HOA council to make sure that the residents in the various HOAs are aware as well. In total, we have allocated approximately $13,000 for communications on this project. So we'll spend just under $3,000 on print advertising, and those ads will run in January and February. And then about $1,000 on the digital advertising. And then the largest portion will be about $9,000 for the direct mail. And then the timeline for our communications, we'll start slowly rolling out information in December to start making residents aware that this change is coming. We'll push out more consistent information in January, with heavy promotion in February. So most of our ads will run at the end of January throughout February. And then we'll do some reminders in March. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. This has been a long time coming.
It has.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation. Thank you, Hannah. Question for you is, you mentioned enrolling in a portal is $5 discount, enrolling with the bank account is $5 discount, that's $10. Do you have any time frame that customers have to stay for 12 months to get that discount? Or if they roll out, enroll in first 2 months and they stop doing it, do we have any way to take away that discount, or do we have any thoughts around that?
No, so really one of the advantages of doing this conversion and asking customers to register for a new account is to get that accurate data. And so if a customer signs up for the account or signs up for the portal, that's great. We love that. If they decide never to use it, that's fine too.
Okay. Within this communication, can we include the smartphone app that we have so the customers are familiar with the smartphone app that we implemented recently?
Yes, yes, definitely. That will definitely be part of our communications, and customers will be available or will be able to go to the smartphone app to pay their bills.
Thank you.
Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, if you're already on bank draft, auto bank draft, you still would have to go ahead and register online again, or how?
I'm very glad that you asked that. So no, if you are currently enrolled in bank draft, you do not need to take any action. However, if you are not currently enrolled in bank draft, once the new system goes live and you decide that you would like to do that, you will need to register on the new portal in order to get that set up. Okay. But if you currently use bank draft, you don't need to do anything.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. It's a great, I think, a great plan getting ready to move forward on this. Talking about the incentives again, so it's $5 if they sign up for bank draft, and I am going to make the assumption that it's to our advantage as far as collections for them to be signed up on bank draft. I mean, it's more efficient for us. Is that a correct assumption?
That sounds like a correct assumption. I cannot say for
Okay.
certain. No.
As far as the $5 incentive for signing up for the portal, is there an advantage for the city for them to be enrolled in the portal? I certainly see all the benefits for the consumer for sure, but is there some benefit the city also gets for the more people that sign up, the better for the city water department?
Yes. So again, with the new portal, we'll be gathering accurate data for all of our residents and all of our customers. So we'll have updated phone numbers and email addresses for all of our accounts, and that way we'll be able to contact them much more efficiently in case of an emergency, or if something comes up, we can reach out to them, and that will also just help us really provide better customer service.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I was struggling with a little bit of the incentive for the portal, but that makes sense if it's collection of information that we may not have great information or a lag in updating information. So that makes sense. Thanks.
Well, again, thank you very much for your presentation, and we're all looking forward to this.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. This consists of items A through I. The consent agenda is routine in nature and generally enacted in one motion. These items have been previously approved through the budget or past council actions. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. Full descriptions are available on the screen. Council, is there any desire to pull an item from the consent? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve consent agenda items A through I.
Please, Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Neville's, Judd, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 9 is a public hearing, and Ms. Perrone Boswell will read it into the record for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 9 is a public hearing. Consider approval of PD 307 LI Maple Mart Expansion, Valley Ranch Center, Lot A-R1, Block 1. A zoning change request from LI SUP to PD 307-LI to approve a detailed site plan for a new convenience store, building with a restaurant, approximately 4,504 square feet in size, with additional fuel pumps on 0.919 acres of land, located on the southeast corner of South MacArthur Boulevard and East Beltline Road at 1301 East Beltline Road, at the request of Trinity Line Investment, LLC, being represented by Mohammed Mozar Islam PE, Civil Urban Associates, Inc. So good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Mary Perrone Boswell, Senior Planner. I'd like to start out with a brief history of the property located at 1301 East Beltline Road. This property was originally platted and developed in 1987. Several SUPs were approved, allowing for the development of a convenience store with fuel pumps and a car wash. This first picture here is an image of the existing facility. So the existing convenience store site with the car wash and the store up against the canopy. This second image is the canopy and the fuel pump, so you can see the store kind of tucked in underneath the canopy. So this site is just under an acre in size and abuts developed property. The new convenience store is to be located in the southern portion of the site where a car wash currently exists. So the new convenience store is outlined in blue. The existing car wash will be demolished to make room for the new store. The existing driveways will be modified to conform to today's standards and new fire lane. So that's illustrated in red. The existing canopy will remain, and the columns will be clad in a stone veneer to match the proposed building veneer. So that's the yellow represents the existing canopy. The applicant has included a PD condition specifying that no outside storage, ice machines, vending machines, or sales of any kind are allowed outside of the building. The applicant is providing 27 parking spaces on site, which does not include the spaces adjacent to the pump. The landscape section of the zoning ordinance allows for lots that are less than 2 acres in size to have 30% landscape area and allow for a hardscape to account for 5% of that calculation. This proposal meets those requirements. The sidewalk on the western portion of the building, the parking spaces in front of the building, and the sidewalk in front of the building will all be of stamped concrete, which accounts for the hardscape portion of the site. The applicant is providing 15 plus feet along street frontages of landscaping. A curvy linear parking area along the street frontage will have hedges planted to screen the headlights. Additional shrubs are proposed to be planted along MacArthur Boulevard, East Beltline Road, and a portion of the southern and eastern perimeter. A total of 3 trees will be removed from the site, while 24 trees, 4-inch caliber cedar elms, and cypress pine will be planted on site. The landscaping requirement has been met, and $1,800 in tree mitigation fees will be paid with this project. So staff has been working with this applicant and their architect for several months on this project. The building elevations before you, the building will be a tan Coronado stone building with stone accents and a metal canopy over the front door and sides of the building. At this time, there's no signage proposed for the building. If they do decide to add signage, they will be required to adhere to city ordinance. The canopy will be a neutral gray metal. No signage is proposed on the gas canopy, but there will be signage on the gas pumps as shown in the elevations. The existing monument sign, located at the northwest corner of East Beltline and MacArthur, is proposed to remain. And this is just an image, some renderings and perspectives of the proposed new building. So we did send out letters within 200 feet as required by state law, and we did send out courtesy letters within 800 feet, and we received no responses. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PD 307-LI subject to the following conditions. 1, that additional engineering comments will be generated upon engineering plan review. 2, a tree removal permit is required prior to construction. And 3, that the property shall be replatted prior to the issuance of any engineering or building permits. So basically a filed plat. That is the end of my presentation. The applicant is here as well to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so I open the public hearing and invite the applicant to make any comments at this time. All right. We do have people signed up to speak as a part of the public hearing. So persons wishing to speak during our public hearing must sign the register and list their residence and address. I have those here. You will be called to speak in the order you've registered that you've signed up to, that you registered. Public hearings are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. There are 3 people that have signed up. The first one is Mohammed Islam. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is MD Muzar Islam. What is this? 9401 LBJ Freeway, Civil Urban Associates President. And I'm the owner of this project also. And I'm the civil engineer for this project also. So if you have any question, I'll answer that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second, I've got 2 more. Second person.
I think by mistake we signed that one. They don't intend to talk.
That's fine. We're not going to force you to speak if you don't want to, so that's quite all right. Thank you very much for your comments. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Boswell or the applicants? Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. Just a quick question. I know you said there's no proposed signage for the building. Quick question, is it intended to stay branded a Chevron station as well? And then I'm assuming that if the signage comes later, that'll just be the branding of the building itself, not have the Chevron signage on it?
So the only, I believe on the illustration, it does show Chevron.
On the existing monument sign?
On the pumps.
On the pumps, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But nothing on the building like that?
Nothing on the building.
Okay, excellent.
No,
Thank you.
Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Boswell, I'm not sure if you're the person to ask, but on the analysis, it talks about the condition was, one of the conditions was ice machines not being on the outside. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that is that the city ordinance that no ice machines can be at any of the gas station, or is that this particular location that they're agreeing to?
So with anything that's outside storage, they're supposed to screen them. So I know that there are some around, and so it's not, they've agreed to that, to not provide any ice machines out front. So there is an ordinance regulation that does speak to that as well.
So, but some locations are allowed to have ice machines outside. Is that correct?
You have to screen them.
Oh, just a screening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Carroll.
I will make a motion to close the public hearing and approve item number 9 with conditions.
Thank you. And a second by Councilmember Long. All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Nevels, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 11 is a public hearing, so I open the public. Sorry? I was going to get her all confused here. I was already confused. Item number 10 is a public hearing. I open the public hearing and ask Ms. Boswell to read the item into the record.
Yes, sir. This is a second public hearing this evening. Item 10, consider approval of PD 297R-HC/LI, Coppell Whitestone, a zoning change request from PD 297-HC to establish a new concept site plan for hotels, an office warehouse, and a commercial building on 16.58 acres of property, and a detailed site plan for 2 hotels on approximately 6.101 acres of property, and a detailed site plan for an office warehouse building on 9.01 acres of land, and an amendment to the 2030 Comprehensive Master Plan from Freeway Special District to Industrial Special District on the 9.01 acre portion located at the northeast corner of Sandy Lake Road and State Highway 121 at the request of the property owner, Ferguson Realty Co., being represented by Dave Littleton, Half Associates, Inc. So this is kind of, this definitely has multiple parts to it. So it's kind of 3 projects in one, so bear with me. This includes to establish a new concept site plan, a detailed site plan for 2 hotels, and a detailed site plan for an office warehouse building on 9.01 acres of land, and an amendment to the future land use map. So the existing PD is illustrated on the left-hand side. So this was a concept plan for hotels, office, and retail uses, which was approved in 2018, along with a detailed site plan, which is outlined in red, for 2 hotels on 6 acres along the eastern portion of the site. No specific retail or office users were identified for the remaining 10+ acres of the site. This plan was not acted upon and was never platted. So the concept plan is everything you see on the left, and the detailed plan, meaning there was someone who came forward to develop a portion of it, was only for the 2 hotel pieces, which is outlined in red. On the right-hand side is the proposed PD, so what is before you this evening. This is a concept plan for 2 hotels, an office warehouse use, and a flex commercial building for office or retail on the 16+ acres of property. Part 2 is a detailed site plan for 2 hotels on approximately 6 acres and a detailed site plan for an office warehouse building on approximately 9 acres. So that's everything on the right-hand side outlined in red. We have someone who is ready to come and develop those portions of this plan. The third part is also associated with the office warehouse component, which requires a change to the future land use map from freeway special district to industrial special district. So phases of development for this project. This property is located at the corner of Sandy Lake Road and State Highway 121. The purpose of the concept plan is to establish the preliminary layout of uses, the circulation patterns to support the different phases of development. The office warehouse is proposed for the first phase to be constructed on the eastern portion of the site. This site will serve as a good transition from the adjacent light industrial office warehouse property that Amazon currently occupies to the east of this property. Phases 2 and 3. The 2 hotels previously proposed to be located on the eastern portion of the site will now be located on the western corner and center portion of the site. The 4th lot, located at the northern point of this site, is a future phase for a future commercial building, zoned HC, and no tenant is currently proposed for this lot. So for phase 1, it's an office warehouse building, approximately 130,000 square feet in size. It's a 40-foot tall building. Dock doors will be located on the eastern portion of the building, and a 10-foot high screening wing wall will be constructed on both ends of the truck court area on the east side. This is a speculative building, and developers indicated that would be most likely used for 1 to 2 tenants. The north, south, and western sides of the building have car parking spaces adjacent to them. The site is providing 205 parking spaces, where 146 are required, therefore providing more flexibility for the use of this building. No outside storage is proposed on this site. A focal point sculpture is to be constructed with this phase. The image before you is the sculpture that they're looking to do. I'll get into that a little bit later on in the presentation. But this will be located on the light industrial lot, right up front, encircled in yellow there. The existing street at the intersection of Sandy Lake Road and Royal Lane will be modified to accommodate a new lane, which will include a new traffic signal for the southbound direction and pedestrian signals for all legs. So phase 2 consists of the 2 hotels. So this is, the first one is the Home 2 Suites. This proposed 126-room hotel was previously approved with the original PD, but was located on the eastern portion of the site. This new proposal has the hotel located on the central portion of the site with an entrance from State Highway 121 and from Sandy Lake Road. This hotel meets the minimum requirements of the hotel ordinance. Phase 3 is the Elements Hotel by Marriott. The original PD had a second hotel as well, located on the eastern portion of the site. Originally, this was a La Quinta brand hotel. The current proposal has a 5-story Marriott Element Hotel instead. It's proposed to be located on the corner of 121 and Sandy Lake Road. This proposed 125-room hotel meets all the requirements of the hotel ordinance. However, the applicant is seeking a small exception to the parking requirement. They are providing 132 spaces where 133 are required. Phase 4 is a future commercial building, approximately 9,600 square feet, with 53 associated parking spaces. So the illustration on the left, included in this concept plan, is a request for one 40-foot tall, 800 square foot multi-tenant pylon sign, proposed to be illuminated from below by ground-mounted lights. The sign will have 4 areas for signage, one for each of the 4 lots. The sign is proposed to be located on the State Highway 121 frontage on the hotel lot. The previous PD had 3 40-foot, 1,040 square foot signs approved. On the top right, there's a 60 square foot monument sign proposed that will have both hotel names on it, will be illuminated from the ground from below by ground mounted lights. This sign is proposed to be located on the 121 frontage at the common driveway entrance between the hotels. The monument sign on the bottom right, the office warehouse building is proposing to have this monument sign, which is also 60 square feet in size, and have room for the possibility of 2 tenant names. The sign will be lit from ground-mounted light fixtures. This sign will be located along the Sandy Lake Road in front of the industrial lot 1. Signage for the office warehouse will be in the form of a monument sign out front, and if granted, a space on the off-premise 40-foot sign, as well as building signage. This is just an elevation. The building will be made of concrete tilt wall with form liner and reveals. So this is the office warehouse building. Here's a rendering of that building. It will consist of 2 main colors used on the facade and 1 trim color, both neutral in color. The north, south, and western elevations will be a combination of the concrete tilt wall, aluminum, and glass storefront system. Staff has worked with the architect to produce an attractive building and have the truck dock on the east side away from the hotels. And the front would look more like an office complex versus your standard office warehouse building. As outlined in the Freeway Special District section of the comp plan, a focal point will be provided at the main entry, at the north-south driveway at Royal Lane and Sandy Lake Road. The developer hired an artist to design something special for this site, or specific for this site. So they're proposing to provide this art piece that will be approximately 9 feet in height and placed on a raised platform. The piece will be constructed of mirror-polished stainless steel rolled in the shape of an hourglass with an internal gold light piece that will act as sand trickling down the hourglass. The Home 2 Suites. The first floor will have a brick facade with a light gray blend. The remaining floors will be constructed mainly of ephes with neutral colors for the facade and trims. There's a vertical element that spans the height of the structure, and it will be a dark clove color with a signature lime green stripe as illustrated in the elevations. A note is on the plans to have signage conform to city standards. They are requesting a laminated translucent enclosure lighted from within to allow for the roof, be allowed on the roof over the hotel sign. This is a rendering of the second hotel, the Elements Hotel. Slight difference on this one is on the picture on the left where it has that kind of tunnel effect over the top. It won't have that tunnel effect, it'll be cropped down. So the Element Hotel will be a combination of ephes and stonewood panels. The ephes colors proposed are neutral and the same as those used for the Home 2 suites. The stonewood panels are colored Madison walnut and white aluminum. The front entrance vertical articulation will consist of white aluminum panels, and the Madison walnut panels will form the other vertical articulation portions on the elevations. The attached signage will need to be in compliance with the sign ordinance as noted on the elevations and PD conditions. So the landscape plan provided show that all three sites meet the minimum requirements. While the previous PD had a variance to provide a 20-foot wide buffer along Sandy Lake and 121, this proposal will provide a 30-foot landscape buffer in these areas and a wider area at the 121 and Sandy Lake Road intersection. At the main entrance along 121, a landscape median is proposed. Some trees along the perimeter of the site, both 121 and eastern boundary, have existing trees that are proposed to be saved. So in terms of tree mitigation, Lot 1, the office warehouse, is preserving trees along the eastern perimeter, but other trees internal to the site will be removed to allow for the building and associated parking to be constructed. The tree mitigation for this site is approximately $11,400. This is assuming that the LI zoning is granted, which allows for the trees that fall within the footprint to be exempt from tree mitigation. If the zoning were not granted, then the tree mitigation fees for this site would be approximately $113,000. Lots 2 and 3, the hotel lots. Some existing trees are proposed to be saved along 121. The tree mitigation fees for this site totals approximately $42,500. The majority of trees were located in the building footprint and parking areas. For Lot 4, the future building, essentially the same story with the existing trees along 121 being saved and other trees being mitigated in the amount of approximately $25,800. So the future land use plan amendment is to revise the future land use map to line up with this request. This property was part of a city-initiated effort 18 years ago to establish highway commercial zoning corresponding with the freeway special district in the comprehensive plan along the freeway frontages to enhance development standards, ensuring that the limited freeway frontage and entry portals into the city of Coppell are of the high quality developments envisioned. The request before you will leave approximately half of the property HC and rezone approximately half of the property back to light industrial, which corresponds to the industrial special district. The proposed request will provide the 130,000 square foot office building adjacent to other office warehouse buildings that line the north side of West Sandy Lake Road. The proposed developer has provided enhancements to the building in the form of glazing and articulations. Staff is not opposed for future land use map designation for this 9-acre portion to be amended back to industrial special district. So in terms of notifications, we did send out letters as required by state law within 200 feet and some courtesy letters within 800 feet and received no responses. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PD 297R-HC/LI, subject to the following conditions. 1, concept plan conditions. A detailed site plan in compliance with the concept plan and city ordinance can be administratively approved by the Director of Community Development, and that's for the Lot 4. Approve the land use amendment for the 9 acres to the industrial special district. 2, for detailed site plans. A, the property will be platted into 4 lots and create the building sites, easements, and fire lanes prior to any building permits being issued. B, there shall be a coherent architectural theme and consistent sign package for attached signs for lots 2 and 3. C, there should be a coherent architectural theme and consistent sign package for attached signs for lots 1 and 4. D, the Royal Lane Sandy Lake Road intersection improvements shall be included in Lot 1 and Lot 4 infrastructure plans and constructed by the owner-developer prior to or concurrent with issuance of a building permit for the first building. E, existing signal at intersection of Sandy Lake Road and Royal Lane shall be modified to accommodate the new southbound leg. This will include a new traffic signal pole for the southbound direction and pedestrian signals for all legs. F, final northbound Royal Lane configuration subject to current TIA requirements and any other TIA requirement. G, provide 1 40-foot tall sign on Lot 2 as shown, and provide for off-premise signage for all 4 lots as shown. H, building elevations for each lot to be approved as presented. I, irrigation plans to be submitted during the permit process. J, site lighting shall meet City of Coppell requirements. K, a POA, Property Owners Association, is required for the 2 hotel sites and a separate POA required for the commercial and industrial sites. These POAs must be reviewed by the city and be in place prior to filing the plat. L, to allow for 1 parking space deficit for the Element Hotel. And M, to allow for more than 50% parking in the front yard as shown. That is the end of my presentation, and the applicant is here as well to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant have anything to add to Ms. Boswell's presentation?
Evening, Council. Dave Littleton with Half Associates, 1201 North Bowser Road in Richardson, Texas. And we're here to answer any questions we have. I have Richard Crow and Mark Myers with Myers & Crow Company that will also help answer any questions you might have and add color to the presentation that Mary so eloquently prepared. Richard?
Richard Crow, 3811 Turtle Creek Boulevard, Dallas, Texas. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. And Mary, thank you. Thank Matt for all the work. We have a long history with this project, with this property, starting 18 years ago when the city was coming in to adjust the zoning on the site. The Ferguson family that owns this property had asked for our help in understanding that process. So to go even further back in history, Mr. Ferguson bought this property right after the airport was built, and I think it was late 70s, early 80s, and his intention was to build the Ferguson steamroller plant on this site. He had a Ferguson steamroller plant on Harry Hines and ended up not doing this. He retired, and that Ferguson steamroller plant on Harry Hines is now part of Parkland Hospital. So there's a long history. So we've been working with the family for, as I said, the last 18 years and looked at dozens of plans for development of this site, working with Marcy, Matt, now Mary, for many years. So this master plan, we think, is really accomplishes a great plan for the property. We also built, by the way, the building next door, the Amazon building, and that was also on Mr. Ferguson's property. And that's 600,000 square feet, so it's a really big, heavy industrial building. And so this plan allows a soft transition with the smaller industrial building that we've designed to look like an office building, and then to the 2 5-story hotels. So we think, again, it accomplishes a really good plan, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and persons that have signed up to speak during the public hearing must register and list their address on the record. You will be called to speak. Actually, I think it's both of you guys, so I'm assuming that you've already given your spiel. So is there anybody else that would like to speak to this topic? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for your comments, by the way. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Boswell or the applicants? Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Mary, can you pull up the list of conditions? It was item C, I believe, that was of some concern. Let me see. Yeah, there it is, 2C. There shall be coherent architectural theme and consistent sign package for attached signs for lots 1 and 4. I don't think we want to restrict the architecture on lot 4 to make it coherent to a warehouse-looking building that's on lot 1.
We can definitely change that, sir.
What's that?
We can definitely amend that.
I mean, that's just one person's opinion, but I think there's better things that could be done there for that corner triangle piece once it's eventually developed, because that is not planned for this phase, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So is your thought that we would be encumbering future development with that stipulation?
Yes, I think we get a much better building than a concrete tilt wall. I mean, we cannot control the materials any longer, but I would think to restrict that would be the wrong move.
Thank you. Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had one question. I understand the light industrial district and highway commercial, the basics of it, but for the lack of a better understanding, I see that if we change it back to light industrial, the applicant actually saves some money with the tree mitigation. But as far as from the city's point of view, is there any implication if we actually change back to the light industrial zoning?
No, sir, it would be consistent with other office warehouse buildings on that street, which are light industrial, and it would comply with the industrial special district zoning.
Okay, so nothing else other than saving some money on the tree mitigation, but
yes, sir.
Nothing. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you guys so much for the presentation. I appreciate it. Just had a question. So obviously the original plan was to have the 2 hotels and the retail section there. I guess that's been in play for about 18 years, trying to get retail in there. Would you mind speaking a little bit to why the shift from retail to industrial, and what that development process has been like, and why we're going down this path of going back to industrial, if you wouldn't mind?
Thank you. So the previous plan that was approved showed the 2 hotels, and the concept, since when they came in to do the 2 hotels, the city needed them to show something on the remaining land. So they just came up with these kind of line drawings as concepts for some retail projects. And in fact, the Whitestone, the developer of the 2 hotels, had hired CBRE, who worked for 2 years to try to find some retail users for the site, and they failed. They just didn't do it. The challenge, and we've had, in the 18 years, we've had retail consultants, retail brokers, retail developers we've talked to and worked with, because we've looked at a range of development for the property. The feedback that we got consistently was that this is kind of, I said this in the P&Z also, they said, some of the retail consultants said, well, you're kind of like a barbell. and you're in the middle of the barbell. One end of the barbell with heavy concentration of retail is up at Vista Ridge with the mall and all the retail boxes. The other end of the barbell is at Grapevine Mills, where you have Bass Pro and Grapevine Mills. So we're in between, and they said you just don't get, it's just not going to go retail for this site. And another challenge is the access. So if you're coming on 121 going north, you have to exit. You have to really kind of figure out, how am I going to get on Sandy Lake Road? If you've all done this, you know. It's better now that they've done, the spaghetti's better there, but all the roads. But you have to exit way down by Bass Pro, and then you wind around to get to Sandy Lake. Coming south, you're fine. But coming north, you just don't have, it's complicated for retail. And then you add the demographics, which you've got a nice residential base to the east in Coppell, but everything else on all the other sides are either industrial, Grapevine Lake, or as you go further south, you're getting to the airport. So we looked, we tried, we really did, but ultimately it just wasn't a fit for the site. So.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for Mary. We are about to finish 2 hotels nearby there. When will the phase 2 hotels will start construction?
So I will let the applicant answer that.
Hotel developers here also.
My name is Robert Duncan. I live at 634 Meadowview Lane, Coppell. I understand that the Home 2 site, which will be the first of the 2 hotels, was going to be slated for the first quarter of 2022. I was about to say 1922. That would not be correct. 2022. And that's my understanding from my client.
So in 3 months?
I believe so, in about 3-4 months. The first quarter of 2022 is what I understand.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick question, and you may have said this and I completely missed it, but the warehouse, phase 1, right? Is there already an identified tenant for that, or I didn't
So
catch
the last time, and the applicant is here, Richard, do you have any tenants, or is it speculative?
this spec? Okay. I wasn't sure if I missed that or not. Thanks.
Council, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and make a motion. Councilmember Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we close the public hearing and approve agenda item number 10 with conditions. And then
Altering 2C?
altering 2C, yes, as...
Deleting, please.
Deleting.
Okay.
Per the mayor, deleting. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, do I have a second? Councilmember Long. So the motion is to approve item 10 with conditions, deleting item 2C.
Correct.
All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Neville's, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Much. Okay. Now we're on to item number 11, and I open the public hearing and let Ms. Boswell read the item into the record.
Yes, sir. Item 11, public hearing, consider approval of PD 221R9 R3-HC, Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn, a zoning change request from PD 221R9 R2-HC to amend the plan development to attach a detailed site plan to allow 2 hotels, a Homewood Suites Hotel and a Hilton Garden Inn on 5.49 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Point West Boulevard and Dividend Drive at the request of Dividend Hospitality, Coppell Lodging, and Pegasus Hospitality Group, being represented by Travis Bousquet, the Bousquet Group. So on October 9th of 2018, previous council approved PD 221R9R2-HC, which amended the plan development to attach a detailed site plan to allow for a 129-room Homewood Suites hotel on 3.024 acres of property. This hotel was not constructed, but is part of this updated request, which includes more land and an additional hotel. So again, back in 2018, previous city council did approve a Homewood Suites with 129 rooms. This new request incorporates a revised Homewood Suites residence hotel with 138 rooms and adds a second hotel, a Hilton Garden Inn with 134 rooms, onto the entire 5.49 acre southeast corner of Point West Boulevard and Dividend Drive. The hotels will be constructed in 2 phases, with the Homewood Suites built in Phase 1 and the Hilton Garden Inn in Phase 2. A sidewalk will be extended along Point West Boulevard and Dividend Drive. Several PD conditions are being requested with this application, including 1, exceeding the acreage density requirement for a residence hotel, 2, a reduction in the required parking, a reduced landscape setback for a portion of the site, to allow a shared loading zone for the 2 hotels, and to allow for more than 50% parking in the front yard. The Homewood Suites would have a limited service restaurant, whereas the Hilton Garden Inn will have a full service restaurant serving breakfast and dinner. So you see Phase 1 on your left, and then Phase 2 on the right. So as noted, the Homewood Suites is asking for an exception to Section 12-30-18, 2C, not more than 22 rooms per acre. It is staff's understanding that the purpose of the retention of this density condition in the most recent revision to the hotel ordinance was to ensure sufficient land to provide parking for traditional multifamily development. If this no longer functions as a hotel, the applicant hotel owner operator submitted data on general guest profiles from their similar property at Trophy Club and detailed information about the Homewood Suites brand to support the requested variance. Given the location, surrounding zoning, development patterns, augmented by the operational functions of this flag, it is improbable that this conversion to apartments would occur. Without the additional parking, it would not be viable. Council previously approved this requested exception in 2018 for Homewood Suites with 129 rooms. The second hotel proposed for this site is a Hilton Garden Inn hotel, which is to be constructed in Phase 2. It would most likely require a replat to amend the fire lane configuration with the additional hotel. This hotel either meets or exceeds the requirements for a hotel except for the parking. The required parking for both hotels combined is 272 parking spaces for the rooms and an additional 26 parking spaces for conference rooms and restaurant, for a total of 298 parking spaces. Whereas they are proposing to provide a total of 283 parking spaces, 185 in Phase 1, and an additional 98 parking spaces in Phase 2. So a deficit of 15 parking spaces per ordinance requirements, or approximately 5%. The proximity to the airport and people's use of rideshare transportation is one reason they are asking for the reduction. In addition, they will have a shuttle van to transport guests to and from the airport. The landscape plan for this project generally meets the requirements of the landscape ordinance, with approximately 30% of the site being devoted to landscape areas. Overall, they will be providing 110 trees, surpassing the 82 required. The overstory trees will be a combination of Chinese pistache, Shumard oak, Mexican white oak, and 4-inch caliber lacebark elm. The applicant is asking for an exception to the HC district requirement that parking be 20 feet from street frontages, which results in a 20-foot landscape buffer along street frontages. This development averages about 16 feet at the street frontage and is in line with the adjacent True Hotel development to the south. There is one smaller portion of the site to be constructed in Phase 2 that will be approximately 12 feet in depth, allowing for 16 parking spaces to be constructed along Dividend Drive, outlined in red. The applicant is exceeding the minimum requirements in the outdoor patio areas devoted to guests. The Homewood Suites is proposed to have approximately 2,765 square feet of outdoor plaza area, and the Hilton Garden Inn 2,000 square feet, compared to the 1,000 square feet required by ordinance. The elevations for the Homewood Suites prototype is a mixture of masonry, cut stone, ephes, and resin panels. The Jacob stone is the cut stone proposed to be used, which is tan in nature with darker accents. This stone will be the predominant material used on the first floor of the building. It will also be used in other vertical articulations on the building. The ephes proposed will be in 2 neutral tones and will be used in an alternating pattern and vertical articulation of the building. Marshland oak colored resin panels will frame the center portion of the building where the entrance is located, and carbon gray colored resin panels will outline the center portion of the building. The resin panels will also be used at one end of the building. Overall, the materials on the building will be alternating along the facades. Precast stone lintels will be placed over the window areas and first floor area, with the cut stone facade and pre-weathered galvalume coping lining the top of the building. So the image in front of you is the Homewood Suites. The Hilton Garden Inn, which is the second hotel, will also be a combination of masonry, cut stone, ephes, and cement panels. The Jacob stone is the cut stone proposed to be used and is the same as the one used for the Homewood Suites. The stone will be the predominant material used on the first floor of the building, will also be used in the center vertical articulation of the building. The ephes proposed will be a sand texture in 2 tones and will be used in alternating pattern in the vertical articulation. A barrique oak colored resin panels will frame the various portions of the building, including a portion of the entrance. Overall, the materials on the building will be alternating along the facades. Pre-weathered galvalume coping will line the top of the building, and the HC district calls for there to be one base color and alternate color. So basically, they're asking for the building elevations to be approved as presented. So we did send out letters within 200 feet as required by state law, and additional letters within 800 feet for courtesy, and received no responses. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PD 221R9R3-HC, Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn, subject to the following conditions. 1, additional comments may be generated at the time of detailed engineering review and building permit review. 2, this property will need to be platted to provide necessary easements. 3, to allow an exception for more than 50% parking in the front yard. 4, to allow for the elevations as depicted. 5, to allow for an exception to the 22 rooms per acre as depicted. 6, to allow for a shared loading area. 7, to allow for the parking area to be within 20 feet of the property line along Point West Boulevard and Dividend Drive as presented. 8, to require the signs to be compliant with the provisions of the sign ordinance. And 9, to allow for the reduction of 15 parking spaces as presented, provided a shuttle service is offered by the hotel. That is the end of my presentation. The applicant is here as well to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant have any comments or?
Thank you, Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Travis Bousquet, 5104 Connors Drive in Flower Mound. I'm a civil engineer on the project and have been had the privilege to represent the owners on this project and several other projects in the Metroplex. The owner is here as well to answer any specific questions if we need to get into that. And I also won't repeat what Mary just did. She did a fine job on it, and just we've been working with staff on this project for a while now, going back to probably like 2016 or so when we started the original Homewood that we brought and got approved in 18. I'm just happy to be here and answer any questions you have on the exceptions that we listed.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and we did have one person, Mr. Busquet, to speak. Was this your spiel? Okay. So was there anybody else that cared to speak as part of the public hearing? Okay. Then in that case, I'll turn it over to council for questions. Councilmember Neville.
Mary, thank you for the presentation. I have a quick question for you. This is at the risk of sounding ignorant. One of the conditions is to require that the signs be compliant with the provisions of the sign ordinance.
Right.
Aren't they? I guess I don't understand why they're not by default compliant with the provisions of the sign ordinance. Could you explain that to me, please? I'm sorry.
For sure. So sometimes they present a sign package which may or may not be compliant with the sign ordinance, so they ask for exceptions. With the original package, they didn't provide a sign package to us. Okay. And so it's a standard comment that we put saying, you must comply with the sign ordinance regulations. So since P&Z, we have met with them and they did provide us with some signage which is looking to be compliant with our ordinance regulations.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Councilmember Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a question. I noticed there's a full-service restaurant serving breakfast and dinner now. Is that a brand name restaurant, or is it associated with the hotel?
I'll let the applicant answer that one.
Hitesh Jariwala, 8601 Lindenwood Lane, Irving. The restaurant is actually a Hilton Garden Inn standard restaurant, so the standards are part of the Hilton Garden Inn hotel brand.
Okay, so.
But it does have a full dinner menu with a full bar. We operate a Hilton Garden in Denton at this time, and we also serve breakfast and dinner there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Boswell, clarification, and I feel confident that it's acceptable, but can you talk about the exception, 22 rooms per acre, whereas I think this is actually 50 rooms per acre. Is that, am I remembering correctly? Is that the right number?
Correct. So with a residence hotel, there's a provision that, to have 22 units to the acre. The idea being, if it were to ever convert to a multifamily product, that you would be able to provide parking for it. This was previously approved in 2018, and based on the brand, the flag, and this will be in combination with another hotel on one lot. Staff does not feel that would be that would happen at some point.
So the original, the requirement, the 22 per acre, that's really for the Plan B if something was to go wrong down the road, right, and you would have to convert it. That's really why the
right. So there's
the requirement is there to begin with.
Because it's a residence hotel.
Okay, yeah.
Because it provides, the refrigerator, the stove, basically the kitchen accessories.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. I know it's in the staff report, but I just want to confirm that with the density of this hotel, and you actually touched upon it about the possibility of converting that later on to a, I guess, multi-family development unit, but that's something that would actually have to go through entirely different process if that was to happen, if they decide to change that. That is correct, right? Okay, thank you.
In 2018, when we worked on the Homewood with Marcy, that was a pretty long, hard discussion, just a process of if we ever our Hilton contract is 20-year license, and at that time, we usually get another 15-year license renewed. And then if we try to do anything different, we would have to come back from the city council for the changes. So obviously, if we ever came back, you guys would just deny it. So plus, we just don't meet any parking requirements for the other usage. So there was a long discussion with Marcy and you guys at that time. And then what happened is we got everything approved in 2018 October, and then I believe in March of 2019 when COVID happened, we were about to submit for a building permit, and then while that last year Hilton came out with a completely brand new Homewood prototype, so we ended up making a tough decision and just starting completely over, and we had to redesign the architect for the building, plus redoing all the civils. And at the same time, opportunity came along from Hilton to do a Hilton Garden Inn. So it was a very tough decision for us because we're making a massive financial commitment. But we're pretty lucky to have these two amazing brands. I mean, both of the brands are top of the so we're just very lucky to be able to develop these two hotels.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Okay. Council, seeing no other comments, I entertain a motion. Councilmember Carroll.
I move to approve item number 11 with conditions.
Close the public hearing.
And close the public hearing. I thought I had it all.
Councilmember Neville. All in favor?
Long, Carol, Neville's, Jen, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Mary, thank you very much for your support this evening. All right, moving on. Item number 12 is a public hearing. I open the public hearing and ask Mr. Matt Steer to read the item into the record.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This is item number 12. It's a public hearing to consider approval of case PD 231RH 528 and 532 South Coppell Road, a zoning change request from PD 231H to PD 231RH to change from a planned development which was never constructed and allow the tracts to continue their use as residential within the existing residential structures located on 3 tracts of land totaling approximately 0.434 acres located at 528 and 532 South Coppell Road at the request of Gene Murph, Debbie Baum, and Russell Snyder, being represented by Deborah Edmonston Law Firm. So this property is located on the east side of South Coppell Road. It's just north of the existing live-work product, approximately 150 feet north of McNear. And so the owners of 528 and 532 South Coppell Road, they wish to change the current zoning for the properties from PD 231H, which calls for a proposed 2-story office building on the north lot and a residence on the south lot with shared parking to the rear, back to the existing conditions, which consist of 2 single-family residences. So the northern property was previously owned by Carlos and Maria Orosa between 2006 and 2009, who were proposing to construct an office and a shared parking. However, the Orosas were never able to move forward with their approved plans and never actually filed the plat. In the interim, the property was sold to Charles Price. And then finally in May 2019, Ms. Baum purchased the northern property from him, and she recently went to refinance the property and was denied because of the current zoning on the property being calling for an office use. And Gene Murph retains ownership of the southern property, and so that's a residence, and that was to remain as a residence with the planned development. So staff recommends allowing the rezoning of the property to revert back to the existing conditions. And this will allow for the existing development to exist as is, and if burnt or destroyed, to be rebuilt exactly in the same configuration. However, this would not be allowed to be expanded upon. A redevelopment of the property beyond the boundary of the existing footprints would require a new PD zoning, so they'd come back through the process. And with this rezoning approval, an ordinance would be established for each of the lots, and so they wouldn't have to have a joint application for a rezoning. So here's a picture of the property looking to the southeast. We sent out letters to surrounding property owners within 200 feet. We did receive one phone call clarifying that it wasn't rezoning his property, and he had no stance either in favor or opposition of this request. And then we sent out 116 courtesy notices within 800 feet. Didn't receive any comments from that. And the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval 7-0, and there are no outstanding conditions. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any question, actually, the applicants in the audience as well.
So does the applicant have anything to add?
No, I'm Deborah Edmondson with the Edmondson Law Firm, and it's relatively straightforward. The two big issues are Ms. Baum and her husband were unable to rezone their property, and also the other issue is when the Arosas came forward, they didn't plat, but they had the properties basically zoned together. So, and that's one of the reasons we're having to do it as kind of a joint thing, and so this will separate the two properties.
Thank you. I was kind of wondering about that myself. That helped.
Yeah, so that's one of the two big reasons. So.
Okay. This is a public hearing, and no one has signed up to speak. Is there anyone that did desire to speak? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to council for questions and comments. Anybody? Not tonight? Well, then I will be happy to entertain a motion. Councilmember Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we close the public hearing and approve item number 12.
Seconded by Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Neville's, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Sorry to keep y'all seated so long. Item number 13 is Ms. Owens.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is at the request of City Council to increase the number of members to the Animals Appeals and Advisory Board. That's really all my presentation.
All right. This was at our request, and so thank you for your presentation. Does anybody have any comments or questions? You know, just to reiterate, the current Animal Advisory Board has 3 members, and this is to increase it to 5. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve agenda item number 13.
And seconded by Councilmember Neville. All in favor?
Long, Carroll, Neville's, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 14 is to consider approval of appointments by the city boards and commissions. Ms. Egan, I believe you're going to read that into the record for us?
All right, good evening. So today I'm going to go through the list of the names that have been finalized and are being considered for an appointment. Most of the terms are for 2 years, and as I go along the list, I will notify you all if it's 1 or less. First, Animal Services Advisory and Appeals Board. We have 1 regular member, Jennifer Holmes, one alternate board member, Sam Gorgon, and the two new regular positions, which would be held by Rosie Marin and Tracy Allard. Next, we have Board of Adjustment, two regular members, Brett Hickey, Michelle Anderson, one unexpired term, which will be less than 2 years, Kyle Rogers, and two alternate members, Dane Salmon and Kenneth Cole. Next, we have the Ford Board, 4 regular members, Kimberly Grubb, Sung Hong, Monica Panda, and Peggy Quinn. Then we have the Library Board, 3 regular members, Martha Garber, Sakar Katman, Haradas Radkrishnan, 2 alternate members, Patricia Garziano and Carly Brenner. And for this board, we also have 2 youth advisors, and those are also 1-year terms, Priya Kelly and Akashna Subarao. Next, we have the Parks and Recreation Board, 3 regular members, Margaret Bryan, Maureen Corcoran, Earl Rogers, 1 alternate member, Mary Arnold. This board also has youth advisors, 1-year term, Sidrath Shenoy, Rhythm Kandawal. Next is the Planning and Zoning Commission, 4 regular members, Sue Blankenship, Edmund Haas, Ed Mauer, Glenn Portman. Next, we have the Smart City Board. 3 regular members, 1-year term, Patrick Brandt, Ramesh Prekumar, Todd Storch. 4 regular members, 2-year terms, Aaron Bogdowicz, Deepak Javant, Allison Hewitt, Kanishka Chanduri. 2 alternate members, Narendra Pagandar and Paula Waldron. Next, we have the Conduct Review Board. Jordana Dow, Daniel Frey, Carol Gray, Sophia Gara Metz, Ben Nudo, Venki Venkatraman, sorry about that, Megan Forbes, Anamika Gupta, Seth Phillips, Courtney Rogers, and Ashish Veda. And that concludes the list. Thank you.
Much. Council, entertain a motion. Yes, Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to congratulate the new board members and commissioners. Your recommendation to council is very important. We take it very seriously. We appreciate your time and effort to make Coppell a better place to live and work. We all have families. We all have full-time jobs. It is understandable if you miss few meetings here and there. And if anyone is consistently absent or late for meetings, please consider step aside and give an opportunity to someone who will show up. City of Coppell will benefit from their contributions. Today, I would be voting to reappoint a board member who missed 3 meetings this year for 2 reasons. I'll be voting to reappoint the board member. 1, the reasons were genuine, and 2, the continuity of the board. So with that, Mayor, I would make a motion to approve agenda item.
Do I have a second? Councilmember Carroll, all in favor?
Long, Carroll, Neville's done, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 15, City Manager Report. Mr. Land.
Mayor, the only thing I'd like to report is, two. But I don't know how soon, starting after tonight, but between now and the first meeting in December, the only meeting in December, the dais will be worked on, the back room will be worked on, some new paint will be put behind us, as I looked at one of our council members on that. So anyway, so when you come in the next time in December, you'll have an opportunity to experience the new workspace in the back and some changes here so that we've got the technology in position so that you all have your own individual screens. And so we're looking forward to being able to provide that to you and hope you'll find it useful. Also at the December meeting, just as a reminder, and I don't know if, Mayor, you're making this announcement, so I apologize, but for the December meeting, we do presently have it starting at 5:30. We go an hour, then at 6:30, between 6:30 and 7:30, there's the board reception. And this is where we invite both existing board members, those who are currently serving and those who are going off and those who are coming in to come. They sign their papers and, they're welcome to the organization, to the team. The reason I say all that is because that is always a rushed evening. And I just want you to be prepared, since we have some new council members that may not have experienced that before. We will have some executive session items on that evening as well. We will try to minimize any work session items so that we don't extend the length of the meeting, because I know that's not something that y'all necessarily look forward to as going back into work sessions. But that will be your next meeting in December. So you have the board receptions, which will kind of crunch your time frame. So just be prepared for that. And it's usually a pretty full house for the board reception. So we're looking forward to welcoming those and thanking those who have served. And that's all of my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And for the page and a half of stuff I have to say, that was not part of it. So
okay, good.
I'm going to try to abbreviate some of this. On Friday, November 12th and Saturday, November 13th at the Coppell Art Center, the unauthorized Harry Potter experience will be shown. Potted Potter takes on the ultimate challenge of condensing all 7 Harry Potter books and a real-life game of Quidditch, which I think would be fun, into 70 hilarious minutes. This is a brilliant family entertainment and is perfect for ages from 6 to Dumbledore. The Mr. Cooper Gallery is open 1 hour prior, and the main hall doors open 30 minutes prior. So log into the Coppell Art Center for tickets. Also on November 13th from 8 a.m. to noon, Coppell residents are invited to stop by the Coppell Service Center at 816 South Coppell Road to securely shred your documents. ProShed will be out there to perform the service, and you can drop off up to 4 boxes, which is banker box sizes, between the hours of 8 a.m. and noon. All the shredded paper will be recycled, and your container will be returned to you. For more information, contact kcb@coppelltx.gov. Then November 20th, the Gobble Wobble 5K and Fun Run will start at 8 a.m. at Andy Brown Park East. Gather your flock and head over for Coppell's annual 5K run. This will be an in-person event, but will also be virtual if you want to record your performance outside of the Saturday, November 20th event. Virtual participants can run any time up through race day. The City of Coppell administrative offices will close at noon on Wednesday, November 24th, and will remain closed all day Thursday and Friday, November 25th and 26th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. On December 3rd and 4th, the Coppell Theater presents It's a Wonderful Life at the Coppell Art Center. December 5th, the times are 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., and December 10th and 11th, 10 p.m. to 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is presented by Theater Coppell and the Wheelis Wilson Jr. Theater, and It's a Wonderful Life is a musical adaptation of Frank Capra's masterpiece films. Also on December 4th, the Coppell Lighted Parade and Holiday Tree Lighting will start at 6 p.m. at Andy Brown Park East. We'll kick off the parade and ceremony down Parkway. The lighted parade will feature beautifully decorated floats, and hopefully we'll have many twinkling holiday lights. After the parade, head over to Andy Brown Park and count down the beginning of the holiday season with the holiday tree lighting. And then once again, the City of Coppell will again sponsor the special holiday program called Make a Child Smile. This program benefits children living in the City of Coppell by providing holiday gifts for those families in need. You can stop by the City Manager's office here in Town Center between November 1st and 30th to select a paper ornament, or visit www.makeachildsmilecoppell.com to select a virtual ornament, then purchase a gift of clothing and or toy for the child and return it wrapped to the City Manager's office. Ornaments are available for checkout Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. In addition to gifts for local children, the city is also collecting $50 Walmart gift cards for donations to our local seniors. These gift cards will be given to MetroCrest Services to build wish baskets, which are distributed each December to help brighten the holidays for our local seniors. Gift card donations should be dropped off at the City Manager's office by 5 p.m. Monday, December 6th. Contact Crystal Patinas in the City Manager's office with any questions. And that is all I have. Item number 17 are the council committee reports concerning community involvement with no council action or deliberation permitted. Item A is a report from the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition by Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. The last three months, we've had a meeting each month, and I'll just hit some of the highlights. One of the things is, as you're all aware, because everyone voted last week on a constitutional amendment, Proposition number 2 allowed counties to access a financing vehicle that they were not formally able to tap. Cities were already able to tap into this financing vehicle, but counties were not, and so that Proposition 2 expanded that to the counties. So that passed. So that is a good for some of the regional transportation projects that are in place. The other big thing that the coalition is watching right now is clearly the infrastructure bill that is coming out of Washington as it continues to get developed. At one point, it was thought Texas would potentially garner $25 to $28 billion out of that bill over 4 to 8 years. And so, having the projects ready and lined up for presentation and for funding as that becomes available, or as we are aware of how that funding will happen, is going to be important. The couple of things that we think that the infrastructure bill is going to focus on is certainly will have traditional bridges and highways and things such as that, but it's also going to really emphasize regional connectivity across the state or across state lines. And so when you're thinking about that, you're thinking about like a Houston, Dallas high-speed rail type project and things such as that. They're also going to be emphasizing connecting communities equitably. You'll be continuing to hear that more and more, make sure that all communities are addressed equitably. And so the overreaching message out of the group is for the different jurisdictions that have projects on tap, the projects need to be ready to go. There's often a lot of environmental that goes into planning these projects, and the projects need to be ready to go when the funding shows up, because if the project is not ready to go, the funding ends up going to the next project on the list that is ready. And so there's a big emphasis in, as quickly as possible, making sure projects are lined up. So that's the update. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Item B is a report on the Woven Health Clinic by Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. So Woven has administered over 400 COVID vaccinations to their patients since May. They recently received the Moderna booster vaccination and are actively administering them. The clinic's almost getting back to normal, although they have not yet started in-person events like healthy cooking classes and patient education events. They do plan to resume these in 2022. Woven is still seeing an increase in mental health conditions, especially depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. Funding for the fourth quarter of 2022 and 2023 is going to be very difficult for the clinic. The state is ending a key program that has provided the majority of funding for the clinic since 2011. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Item number C is a report on MetroCrest services by Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. The MetroCrest CEO, Tracy Eubanks, and the board members would like to thank City of Coppell for our support by contributing $80,000. And they have raised so far $9.5 million out of the $15.8 million needed to construct a new facility. The construction will start in late January of 2022. The anticipated completion is spring of 2023. And they expect to raise all the needed funds by 8/31/23 to ensure they are debt-free. They are starting a new initiatives. They are creating a new position called Homeless Resource Coordinator. This role has two key functions. The first will be as a primary responder for homeless cases. We have seen a surge over the past 3 to 4 years. The second role is as a connector to all DFW resources to ensure our clients have access to quality complementary service such as domestic violence support. The objective has to be the first place people all call regardless of the need. This role will allow to improve the quality of our response. Couple of bullet points for the impact so far for FY 2021. MetroCrest served 25,732 individuals in served. 1,260 households received rent support to avoid eviction. 1,964 individuals received employment coaching, and 1,802 households received financial education. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 18 is public service announcements concerning items of community interest with no council action or deliberation permitted. I believe Councilmember Neville had a couple of items here.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just two quick things. I wanted to recognize a couple of individuals and groups in the community. Congratulations to Coppell High School junior Andrew Mullen, who placed 7th in the UIL 6A State Cross Country Championships. So that's a big accomplishment. He ran a personal record of 15 minutes and 17.1 seconds at the meet. So excellent accomplishment. And then our Coppell High School band just honestly hours ago placed 5th in the UIL 6A State Marching Band Contest. So congratulations to the band. It's their best finish since 2012. So that's my report.
Anybody else have any public service announcements? Seeing none, there was no necessary action from executive session, and therefore, being no further business before this council, we are adjourned at 9:44 p.m.